Kick him off Twitter.
Adam Curry, John C. Dvorak.
It's Thursday, October 3rd, 2019. This is your award-winning Gitmo Nation Media Assassination episode 1178.
This is No Agenda.
Rocking the red meat and broadcasting live from Opportunity Zone 33, the frontier of Austin, Texas, capital of the Drone Star State. In the morning, everybody. I'm Adam Curry.
And from northern Silicon Valley, where apparently it's still rush hour, and it remains so until about 11. I'm John C. Dvorak.
It's Crackpot and Buzzkill in the morning.
You want to know about a real rush hour? Go over to the Netherlands. See what was going on there the other day.
What?
Oh, you didn't see the farmer protest?
No. Oh, they've gotten a clue from the French?
Even better, though. So the European Union decided that the Netherlands has exceeded its nitrogen quantity they're allowed to use. And by the way, the Netherlands, I think, has the same quantity limits as Germany and other countries, much larger than them. And so they said, but it's done. You can't use any more nitrogen for the rest of the year. It's all done. Now, maybe we should understand how important nitrogen is in farming. For that, we turn to our resident farmer, John C. Dvorak.
Yeah, nitrogen is one of the main components of all fertilizers. And in fact, it's the nitrogen compound that means the most. And when you buy some fertilizer, you sometimes see three numbers on there, which is like something like 16, 5, and 6, or 16 is the max, I think, for nitrogen. And they refer to the levels of the different nutrients, but the most important one is nitrogen. Mm-hmm. And I once had a bag of it. I don't have it anymore. I probably would be arrested. Because when I was working as an air pollution inspector, I worked at I also inspected a fertilizer plant. And so they gave me a bag of straight up ammonium nitrate.
Ooh, you mix that with some water, dip some paper in there, and you got flash paper.
You could do a lot with it.
Yeah.
I don't know about what you just said, but ammonium nitrate is it can be used to make explosives. Anfo bombs are one of the most easy to make, which is ammonium nitrate and fertilizer. Right. I'm sorry, ammonium nitrate and fuel oil. You mix ammonium nitrate with some just cheap oil and put it in I'm not going to describe how to make the bomb, but it's makeable. And so I had this big bag of ammonium nitrate in the, and I think the numbers on it was 1600. It had nothing else in it. It was just pure ammonium nitrate. And unfortunately, the cellar flooded one day, and the bag got wet, and then it turned into one solid crystal of ammonium nitrate. Well, I mean, you could chip away at it if you wanted to.
When I was growing
it's a handy product.
Yeah, when I was growing up.
Anyway, by the way, just to go on with the story, I was told that you take the pure straight stuff, and then you can go to somebody's, like a big giant lawn that somebody has, and you can spell out, screw you or something like that, and with this you have a little spreader, and it will make this grass grow super green and super fast and like 3 feet high, so it'll spell out whatever you wrote. It's a pretty funny idea.
Now, growing up just south of Amsterdam when I was young, we lived in a farming community. There was lots of this stuff around. And what we used to do is we'd mix it with sugar, and then you have to have the right amounts, but you'd mix it with sugar, then water, then you dip pieces of paper into the water, let it dry, and then if you lit that, it would go.
Yeah,
it's like flash paper. Anyway, what's cool about this in the Netherlands when it comes to the media story about this is the Dutch name for nitrogen is stikstof, which means choking stuff. I mean, it's a literal translation. So whenever someone's talking about climate and, oh my God, and we're hurting the earth and, oh, what are we going to do? And you're using choke stuff. Oh, no. This is no good. But the farmers were not having it, and they got all their tractors, and they tied up all of the highways. This was it Wednesday morning or Tuesday morning? And they effectively created almost 700 miles of traffic jams.
Nice.
And the Netherlands, 700 miles, you can go up and down,
That's
back
the whole
and forth
country.
a couple times. You can roam around in the country with that. So now the Netherlands is very sensitive to traffic because, in fact, although it's starting to change a little bit, for decades, they would always mention the traffic on the news, traffic and weather together, and they do it by length of the traffic jam. So not how much time it would take, but the actual length. And it would be 5 kilometers, 15 kilometers, 20 kilometers. And you hear this every single morning, every afternoon. The country is incredibly overcrowded or densely populated, and there's a lot of cars and just not enough roadway. So they're sensitive to it. So when this happens, it cripples the country. And the country was crippled for this day. And the farmers, they went down to The Hague or came up where they went westwards, wherever they were coming from, probably from the east, so they went westwards. And so this is where the government is in the Netherlands. They had set up barricades and fences because we have this very famous field called the Malieveld, and that's where you can register and have an official demonstration, and you can stand there and go, hey, hey, ho, ho, what the F has got to go. And but they didn't want any of this. It was not a registered protest, and this is how stupid these people are. The farmers, they roll up into The Hague after tying up all the roadways. They look at these fences and go, pfft, and it's just video after video of them plowing them down, going right through them, jumping. It's tractors. These are sizable John Deeres. You can't do much against them. They're like tanks. And the Dutch population, from what I've been able to glean from following it, stand behind the farmers. Like, yeah, why are we letting these EU douchebags tell us what we can do? So they weren't wearing yellow vests, but they might as well have been. Very good.
Well, where's this going to head, though? It's not going to go anywhere.
Oh, they'll do it again. The farmers are famous in the Netherlands for doing. They are indeed the yellow vests of Holland. They're very famous for their protests. And
let's back up to the reason for the protests. So they are given the same, managed amount or rations. They get the same rations.
Rations. That's
wartime, they have rations of their nitrogen supply, fertilizer supply. Let's say they have their ration. They have to have the exact same amount as the other countries.
Yeah, well,
it doesn't make any sense. Everybody grows different things. They have different requirements.
Of course not.
You can't have a one size fits all for fertilizer.
Well, that's exactly what they did. And
also, since I'm the resident farmer,
yes.
Also, what are the crop differences? There's got to be some crop differences. And why are the Dutch using so much fertilizer? You think maybe they're abusing it? Maybe they're using too much. Maybe is a lot of runoff involved. I mean, it sounds like they're ruining the place, these Dutch.
I don't think so. But you're asking questions that I can't answer. My question is nitrogen? I had not heard that this was a greenhouse gas. It's not a gas.
No, it's not. It's a gas in the atmosphere. If you're just going to say nitrogen, N2, which is just the nitrogen molecule.
So I'm not sure exactly what it is that is a problem, but or maybe it's just harmonization, so everyone's in line.
Is it N2 or just plain N in the atmosphere? I think it's just N.
N, I think, yeah. I don't even think it's N2.
Anyway, but the point is the nitrogen is a chemical that has nitrogen in it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, look, I don't know, but it's all I can tell you is that it seems rather unfair for the Dutch to be cut off, with the same levels as other countries around them when they are just a different size country. I don't even know how you can equate.
But they're so small. Why would they need as much as Germany does?
Well, I don't know. I really don't know. But the point is, they don't want Brussels telling them.
They should do their own thing.
Yeah, they don't want Brussels telling them what to do.
Yeah, well, hello.
Yeah, that's exactly the problem. Exactly the problem. Which was very interesting, and maybe we'll start. We were kind of laughing just before we started because we both had the exact same clip, which you titled the bonus clip.
It was a bonus clip.
It is a bonus clip, but since mine is 3 seconds longer, I think I'll I'll grab my version of it.
Well, don't you I had that clip because it was part of a clip, a bunch of clips.
Oh, well, maybe I was going to start you off onto that. Well, here, I'll tell you what my thinking was, and then you tell me how you want to run it. So, President Trump is at the United Nations General Assembly giving a speech, which I guarantee you no one who was listening right now actually saw it or heard any clip or anything of his speech. And in fact, to make matters worse, as he's kind of in his speech, and then we get to Nicole Wall. That's where I was going to go, and then I wanted to play what Trump actually said because I think that's interesting. But if that doesn't work for you, we can do it later.
Well, no, we can go in that direction. That wasn't my initial idea, but yeah, he's giving us. I thought that was a press conference that she interrupted him.
No, it was his United Nations General Assembly speech.
I saw the. Okay. That's. But by the way, it is N2, not.
Oh, it is N2.
N.
Okay.
So he's given the speech, and she, instead of letting him give the speech because of MSNBC's policies, she just interrupts him and calls him a liar right in the middle of the speech.
We hate to do this, really, but the president isn't telling the truth. These allegations against Joe Biden and Hunter Biden that he's repeating have been investigated by the Ukrainians, none other than the Wall Street Journal included in their report on Friday that the Ukrainians view this issue as having been investigated and adjudicated. And what's amazing is that what Trump appears to be trying to do is to turn his own impeachment into a big deflection.
Yeah, he's trying to change the story. I think we should say two things. First of all, the question on the table here is not about Joe Biden. It's not about Chris Murphy or any other senators he's talking about. It's not about the whistleblower. It's about his conduct and whether his conduct as president is impeachable or not, whether it amounts to misconduct. But as it relates to Joe Biden, it's important to note that this story has been looked at and thoroughly debunked by everyone involved. Joe Biden's son served on the board of a Ukrainian company. That Ukrainian company was investigated by the Ukrainian Attorney General. That investigation was closed before Joe Biden ever asked for the Attorney General to be fired. And the reason Joe Biden asked for the Attorney General to be fired, he wasn't speaking on behalf of himself or his son. He wasn't even speaking on behalf of the Obama administration. He was speaking on behalf of the West at large. The IMF wanted him gone. Other Western governments wanted him gone because this Attorney General was known to be corrupt. That's why Joe Biden pushed for him to be outed. It had nothing to do with his son, and everyone that's looked at it has confirmed that.
So just so we lay this out properly, the President of the United States, which these same people will call the leader of the free world, is speaking on the largest stage and has ideas and is communicating directly to all leaders, not just a phone call to one guy, but communicating his ideas directly to all leaders. They are so sorry, but we have to interrupt because blah, 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 Biden, blah, blah, blah. And you saw nothing of the actual speech. Did you see 1 second did you see 1 minute of useful clip from his speech anywhere?
No, I did see it because I dug it up, but I didn't. Now that you mention it, I don't think there was anybody that would play any of it.
Well, gee, this is the No Agenda show. His whole speech was about 46 minutes. If you cut out all the pauses because he was in his uber presidential mode, which is slow and boring.
Very boring, yeah.
And very drawn out. So I cut out all the pauses of the first couple minutes of his speech. And this is exactly what we were talking about on the last show. The biggest problem with this president is he is anti-globalist and he will communicate however he wants to his people. That's King Trump. So here is a shortened, although it's just out of context because I took the pauses out, but it is the full first few minutes of his speech, and you get to understand pretty quickly why they were so sorry they have to interrupt this.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, Mr. Secretary General, distinguished delegates, ambassadors, and world leaders. 7 decades of history have passed through this hall in all of their richness and drama. Where I stand, the world has heard from presidents and premiers at the height of the Cold War. We have seen the foundation of nations. We have seen the ringleaders of revolution. We have beheld saints who inspired us with hope, rebels who stirred us with passion, and heroes who embolden us with courage, all here to share plans, proposals, visions, and ideas on the world's biggest stage. Like those who met us before, our time is one of great contests, high stakes, and clear choices. The essential divide that runs all around the world and throughout history is once again thrown into stark relief. It is the divide between those whose thirst for control deludes them into thinking they are destined to rule over others, and those people and nations who want only to rule themselves. I have the immense privilege of addressing you today as the elected leader of a nation that prizes liberty, independence, and self-government above all. The United States, after having spent over $2.5 trillion since my election to completely rebuild our great military, is also by far the world's most powerful nation. Hopefully, it will never have to use this power. Americans know that in a world where others seek conquest and domination, our nation must be strong in wealth, in might, and in spirit. That is why the United States vigorously defends the traditions and customs that have made us who we are. Like my beloved country, each nation represented in this hall has a cherished history, culture, and heritage that is worth defending and celebrating, and which gives us our singular potential and strength.
Here we go.
The free world must embrace its national foundations. It must not attempt to erase them or replace them. Looking around and all over this large, magnificent planet, the truth is plain to see. If you want freedom, take pride in your country. If you want democracy, hold on to your sovereignty. And if you want peace, love your nation. Wise leaders always put the good of their own people and their own country first. The future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots. The future belongs to sovereign and independent nations who protect their citizens, respect their neighbors, and honor the differences that make each country special and unique. It is why we in the United States have embarked on an exciting program of national renewal. In everything we do, we are focused on empowering the dreams and aspirations of our citizens.
Uh-oh. That won't stand. Oh, no. That's no good. Well, we have to be globalists, not patriots. So there's plenty of reason for them to not show you that.
Yeah. Yeah, and so they're the ones who are actually going off the side on this thing. They're going off the rails with the Biden thing. And I found that I had the clips. I got the Biden clip admitting that he strong-armed the Ukrainians. And there also was, and this guy that was on that Nicole Wallace clip. First of all, she interrupts by saying, "We have to stop because these are lies. It's not true, any of this." And this was not as if it was. It's not as if this wasn't completely planned, because how do you interrupt and start stepping all over somebody and then bring someone in who happens to be at the ready? They brought the correspondent in. He's standing right there, ready to go.
He was.
How does that work if it's just being at?
He was in the studio, correct?
I think he was a remote. He was a remote waiting to go. He's ready to go.
Then I don't know. Oh, because they had no intention of playing the speech. None whatsoever. Of course not.
But it does bring me to this guy they brought in, who's the little ISO I took of him says a couple of things. One, it tells me he's probably gay. He sounds a little gay. You know, if you don't want to be accused of being gay, which most people don't care,
then don't be gay. Is that what you're saying?
don't sound it.
Okay.
Don't go overboard.
Right.
And don't use terms like, well, play the clip and you'll hear the little gay terminology in here.
That's why Joe Biden pushed for him to be outed. It had nothing to do with his son, and everyone that's looked at it has confirmed that.
Yeah.
Outed.
I missed that. Good catch. He's been outed.
And wait, there's two things in there besides him being outed, which is I don't know who was outed, but at the very end, he says, listen to the very end of this clip and play it again.
That's why Joe Biden pushed for him to be outed. It had nothing to do with his son, and everyone that's looked at it has confirmed that.
Oh, yeah. No, I did hear that. Everyone who's looked at it has confirmed that.
No, you missed it again.
Oh, well, don't say anything. Let me listen one more time.
That's why Joe Biden pushed for him to be outed. It had nothing to do with his son, and everyone that's looked at it has confirmed that.
It had nothing to do with his son, and everyone that's looked at it has confirmed that?
Confirmed them.
I don't hear that.
What does that mean?
I don't
confirmed them.
You say them? Let me listen again.
That's why Joe Biden pushed for him to be outed. It had nothing to do with his son, and everyone that's looked at it has confirmed that.
It's hard for me to tell if you're saying that or them, but I'll take your word for it.
You believe me, I boosted it. It's the them.
All right.
So he's talking about them. And again, this again is bull crap. And I have two clips if you want to get into it. One is Biden himself going on and on at the Council of Foreign Relations, where he pretty much brags about getting this guy fired.
I think we've played this at least once, haven't we? We've played this. Well, it's short. We'll play it again.
I remember going over convincing our team, or others too, convincing us that we should be providing for loan guarantees. And I went over for, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I said, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid.
You know, although I was kind of like annoyed that because this clip is played every 5 minutes on Fox News, I just heard something else in there of importance. He literally tells us that the president of the United States is behind this threat, then President Obama.
Yeah.
And so, once again, wat je zegt ben jezelf met je kop door de helft, they are accusing this president of exactly what the previous president did. Exactly the same. You can say
kids in cages, too.
Yeah.
He also used another term in here. I'm probably going to be a nitpicker today. Is a more colorful term. He says at the end, we got a guy, he's solid. He uses the word solid.
Yeah.
Now, in context, I believe he in this case, he's going to do me a solid. I think it stems from that, where the guy is, in other words, he's a stooge for us. Mm. And I believe that's what Biden was kind of saying. Anyway, the last thing I have on this,
well, also,
this has been played too much on. I don't watch Fox, so I didn't know that, but it's been played a lot because it does make a point. And your catch on the president being part of it is a good one. But insofar as it's not just being debunked and all the rest that they said on MSNBC, ABC did a very long piece, and unfortunately, I have the whole thing. I couldn't clip it down, and you don't have to play the whole thing, but you just have to listen to part of it because it just goes on and on and on. And this is with Tom Yamas, who I haven't heard from much.
Wait a minute, is that my guy?
Tom? No, that's
okay.
Jeff Pegues.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I confuse those two poop heads. I confuse them. One's constipated, the other's not.
Tom Yamas does this thing on Hunter Biden, and he brings up all the points about why is this guy getting this job. You might want to listen to just the beginning of it. because it's 3.5 minutes, which is long, is maxed out for the show. We do long clips, but we don't do them that long. Mm-hmm. And this is can't find, this is the long ABC report. Now, the funny thing about this was done with David Muir as the host, but it was never run on the nightly news. They ran it as a kind of an offbeat special on the morning show with Stephanopoulos. And I found that to be peculiar. So they kind of suppressed the story. But they did do the story, and they felt obliged to run it. And here it is.
Now to our ABC News investigation this morning into Joe Biden's son, Hunter, and questions about money he made from foreign business dealings while his father was vice president. Our chief national affairs correspondent, Tom Yamas, traveled to Ukraine to try to get some answers. And, Tom, what did you find?
Dave, good morning to you. This is actually an issue Joe Biden has been dealing with since 2014. But it's come up again because he's now running for president. Republicans, including President Trump, are trying to hammer Biden over this. At issue was Hunter Biden profiting off his dad's work as vice president, and did Joe Biden allow it? We're talking about millions of dollars in at least 2 countries. Mr. Vice President, Tom Yamas with ABC News. How you doing? Got a quick question for you.
It's a question we tried to ask repeatedly.
Can we ask you about Ukraine and China?
But kept getting blocked. Questions about foreign deals his son Hunter Biden pursued.
My father, Joe Biden.
In countries where Joe Biden was working as America's top diplomat. In 2014, Ukrainians, sick of corruption, revolted. Vice President Joe Biden went to Kiev to help the new government.
Wow, they're really glossing over a lot there. Like, Ukrainians revolted. No, the United States had the whole
it's
state.
Already too long.
The State Department was over there, and they were at Vicky Nuland, Kagelman, handing out cookies.
You have to fight the cancer of corruption.
But then something strange happened. Just 3 weeks later, a Ukrainian natural gas company, Burisma, accused of corruption, appoints Hunter Biden, seen here in their promotional videos, to their board of directors, paying his firm more than $1 million a year. Hunter, a lawyer who had just been discharged from the Navy Reserves for testing positive for cocaine.
Mr. Hunter Biden.
He had served on other boards, but had no known experience in Ukraine or natural gas. We went to Kiev and found even among Joe Biden supporters in Ukraine.
Wait a minute. You telling me this ran on the Stephanopoulos show in the morning?
Yeah.
You mean Stephanopoulos, the former and perhaps still Clinton insider and operative?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, wait a minute. Maybe if you're going to go with that theory, which is possible,
sure.
Then you'd have to go like this. Then the story was produced for NBC or for ABC Nightly News with David Muir, and it was shelved. And then if you go with your theory, Stephanopoulos got wind of it.
Yeah.
So, this is a good story.
Great.
We should run it.
We should run that on my show.
On my show, because it's already been produced. Let's run it in the morning, and then...
Yeah.
That's possible. That's a possibility. I'm not
you know why. You know why. We got a feeling.
Hiring was troubling.
How do you judge what Hunter Biden was doing?
I think that Hunter Biden did a very bad thing, and he was very wrong. He allowed his name to be abused.
And Ukraine wasn't the only country where Hunter Biden's business and his father's diplomacy as vice president intersected. It also happened in China.
This video shows Chinese diplomats greeting Vice President Biden as he arrived in Beijing in December of 2013. Right by his side, his son Hunter. Less than 2 weeks later, Hunter's firm had new business, creating an investment fund in China involving the government-controlled Bank of China. With reports, they hope to raise $1.5 billion. Hunter still plays a role in the fund. His lawyer says his stake is worth about $500,000. Both Hunter and his lawyer say he never discussed any of his overseas work with his father. But even a critic of the
while living in the same house,
current president and his children's business dealings says this.
He should have encouraged his son to not take these positions.
Biden's campaign team told us that the vice president acted at all times in a manner consistent with well-established executive branch ethics standards.
Yes.
One person who did not want to talk about it, Joe Biden.
Mr. Vice President, what's your take on that? Was there a conflict of interest there? Was there a clear conflict of interest? Now, in response to our questions, the Biden campaign, for the first time, is announcing if he's elected, he will invoke a new ethics policy on his first day in office that would empower White House lawyers to monitor for any types of conflicts of interest. Now, Hunter Biden did not want to comment on camera. He says he was brought into Burisma, that Ukrainian company that was facing the corruption charges, to help with its transparency and corporate responsibility. So far, no charges have been brought against Burisma so far.
But these questions aren't going to go away. So in the meantime, is he still on the board for that company in Ukraine?
It's a good question, David. So the same month Joe Biden announces he's going to run for president, Hunter Biden tells us his term on the board expired. He says in the current political climate, he's decided not to renew.
Now I'm kind of sad. There was this clip that I saw, which I did not clip for the show, of for the main reason Rudy Giuliani with Stephanopoulos. I didn't clip it because it's Rudy Giuliani, and I'm so sick and tired of all this bull crap. Just all of it. I'm sick of it. We read the transcript. I'm sick of it. It's all stupid. But Giuliani was sitting on Stephanopoulos' show, and he had emails and affidavits and files, and he sat there unchallenged. Damn it, I should have gotten that clip. Stephanopoulos just let him rant and rant and rant, which is not at all like him. I think that they're just setting it up to get rid of Joe, so she can swoop in. I can't see it any other way. ABC hates Trump. Why would they let all this slide and be so anti-Joe? They want Joe out, and Bernie's out, Joe's out.
And Elizabeth is out. CNBC wrote that article, and all the bankers say, the bankers that put the foot down, they've said, look. They said, look. If you put her in, we're going to give all our money to the Republicans, and that's the way it's going to be. So they hate her, even though, again, we talked about this before. She's so full of crap. Whatever she says doesn't mean anything.
It's interesting because she is such a liar. We know she's a liar. She's lied about her family heritage, and we know she lied fully well knowing she was lying and took advantage of that. I think that she is lying to such a degree that this whole let's break up Silicon Valley, which we know she has no power to break up Silicon Valley companies. That would still have to be Congress and Senate, and the Congress would have to make it happen. But she'd, oh yes, I'll break them up, these horrible tech. I think that's bullshit too. In fact, I think this whole Zuckerberg secret recording is part of a setup to show that, oh yeah, Liz will be great because she'll be great for Silicon Valley. Here's this 40-second clip.
Like Elizabeth Warren, who thinks that the right answer is to break up the companies, if she gets elected president, then I would bet that we will have a legal challenge, and I would bet that we will win the legal challenge. So
also listen to him stuttering. No, hold on. Listen to it. Just follow my logic here for a second.
I have this clip, but I have it within context. I have a better clip.
Okay, where is it?
I have it at the bottom. This is done on Democracy Now!, so we get to listen to Amy Goodman play into it.
Thank you.
Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg has privately slammed Senator Elizabeth Warren's proposal to break up Facebook and other tech giants. On Tuesday, the technology website The Verge published a leaked audio recording of Zuckerberg saying a Warren presidency would, quote, suck for the company, and that he may sue the U.S. government if it attempts to break up the company.
Like Elizabeth Warren, who thinks that the right answer is to break up the companies, if she gets elected president, then I would bet that we will have a legal challenge, and I would bet that we will win the legal challenge. Does that still suck for us? Yeah. I don't have to, have a major lawsuit against our own government. That's not like the position that you want to be in when you're, it's like we care about our country and want to work with our government to do good things. And but look, at the end of the day, if someone's going to try to threaten something that existential, you go to the mat and you fight.
Now, before I go to the tag there that Amy's going to do, that's edited. That is not the full context of what he said. Fox did the same thing, where I think it's incredibly important, where the minute he has to talk about Elizabeth Warren, he's hemming and hawing and trying to figure out, what am I supposed to say? I have issues with this. Let's hear Amy.
The words of Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg. Senator Elizabeth Warren responded on Twitter by writing, quote, "What would really suck is if we don't fix a corrupt system that lets giant companies like Facebook engage in illegal, anti-competitive practices, stomp on consumer privacy rights, and repeatedly fumble their responsibility to protect our democracy," Warren wrote.
Now, I know that this is full-on conspiracy theory. Full on, but who gives a shit?
You have the full clip, but let's go back and let's go over this. I believe Amy is a Warren supporter, and so she gives Warren she reads a long tweet, or I don't know where that came from. It seemed too long to be a tweet. A Warren statement, word for word. So she'll read the Warren thing word for word, but you have the Zuckerberg
audio
clip, word for word, where she wouldn't provide us with that.
Like Elizabeth Warren, who thinks that the right answer is to break up the companies. If she gets elected president, then I would bet that we will have a legal challenge, and I would bet that we will win the legal challenge.
See, he's trying to remember what he's supposed to say in my conspiracy theory.
Does that still suck for us? Yeah. I don't have to, have a major lawsuit against our own government. That's not like the position that you want to be in when you're, it's like we care about our country and want to work with our government to do good things. And, but look, at the end of the day, if someone's going to try to threaten something that existential, you go to the mat and you fight.
Now here's another part, and it's just coming together in my head now. When this first came out, Nilay Patel of The Verge, oh, congratulations, big scope, big scope. Oh, we got undercover audio. And I actually tweeted this journalist about it. So instead of releasing the full audio they apparently have, by the way, we don't know who it came from. No one is asking any questions. I don't hear Facebook saying this is horrible. We can't have people spying in our meetings. None of that. And they decide to release it piecemeal every day, a little bit about this, a little bit. I don't think that's real journalism. That's clickbait bullshit. If you have this tape, do your reporting, and then give us the source material. No, they're stretching it out over as long as they can. I'm telling you that Zuckerberg and Warren are quite possibly in this together and trying to make her look tough when we know she does nothing. We saw the Consumer Protection Board. Yeah, some bullshit things, but I'm still getting phony checks, the loan offers that look like checks in the mail and all kinds of credit card interest is 27%. Come on. It's crap. Now, I smell a rat in this one. Can't prove it. Total conspiracy theory. I smell a rat.
Well, it's an interesting theory to make her look tough. Oh, Warren, because the way Amy took it, she puts this tough talk Warren on the thing. Well, this may all be academic because Warren may have already been screwed over by the bankers because apparently all the deals she's done, and she would be amenable to Silicon Valley. Let's face it.
Sure.
The Democrats love Silicon Valley. That's where they get all their money. All the new billionaires are all from Silicon Valley, and they're all Democrats. So it makes no sense that she'd go after these big companies unless there was some scheme afoot. Now that you mention it, I would have never considered this idea. I was just thinking she's a bonehead and she's like this, threaten everybody. But it's possible that what you're saying is correct because it does make more sense based on the fact that the Democrats and Silicon Valley are tight. They've been very tight for a long time. Google's been working on behalf of the Democrats. We've already known that from the Epstein guy, the researcher who showed that you can skew numbers. Why would the Democrats be against that? Why would they want to bust up Google when Google's helping them? Why would they want to bust up Facebook when, generally speaking, I think Facebook's helping them? They're all Democrats.
Well, in fact,
so this you actually may have inadvertently, just on the fly, stumbled onto a complete conspiracy theory that might be true.
Well, so the true so-called...
We're going to go with it, by the way.
Thank you. The so-called true...
But it's just not going to stop Hillary.
The so-called true Silicon Valley candidate, which is supposed to be Kamala Harris, she jumped in bed with the New York Times. Okay, it was an opinion piece, but it's jumping into bed. on one of the most ludicrous ideas I've ever heard.
The president's tweets and his behaviors about this are just further evidence of the fact that he uses his power in a way that is designed to beat people down instead of lift people up. Frankly, when you look at what he's been tweeting today, directed at the whistleblower, directed at so many people, I frankly think that based on this and all we've seen him do before, including attacking members of Congress, that he frankly his Twitter account should be suspended. I think there is plenty of now evidence to suggest that he is irresponsible with his words in a way that could result in harm to other people.
Harm.
And so the privilege of using those words in that way should probably be taken from him.
But doesn't that, play into certainly the hands of, his, I don't know how many Twitter followers he has. I think it's in the range of 60 million who say, well, look, okay, now the rich folks in Silicon Valley are just trying to silence me and taking me off Twitter.
I'm sure.
Oh, did you hear? She's so pained by what she's suggesting because she knows it's really not the way we should be in America. But someone might get harmed by his tweets.
Silence me and taking me off Twitter.
I'm sure that will be said, but we have to also agree that when the President of the United States speaks, her words are very powerful.
Oh, did you hear that?
Yeah, her words.
Agreed.
What, are you calling him a woman?
That when the President of the United States speaks, her words are very powerful.
God.
And should be used in a way that is not about belittling, much less harming anyone. And this president has, I think, never fully appreciated that responsibility. And so what we see continuously, including in the last 24 hours, is a use of his words, Donald Trump using his words, in a way that could subject someone to harm. And if he's not going to exercise self-restraint, then perhaps there should be other mechanisms in place to make sure that his words do not, in fact, harm anyone. And that's my point. What we want to make sure is that his words do not actually result in harm to anyone.
And in stunning collusion, on the same day, the New York Times publishes an opinion piece by Kara Swisher, who I consider to, at least she believes she's a journalist. And her article, Trump is too dangerous for Twitter. The president flagrantly violates the social platform's rules. It's time to bar him. This is a journalist calling for the barring of the United States president on social media, which quite frankly...
Before you play that, or you don't have a clip.
No, I just want to read a little bit from it.
But this reminds me of the journalists who are all against WikiLeaks.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
WikiLeaks is terrible. It's giving us too much information. I mean, where are they coming from? You want more information. You want people saying stuff. You don't want to shut them up.
It is.
Well, you do want to shut them up if it's part of a system.
But listen to what she wrote. So she's writing in her piece. It so happens that in recent weeks, including at a fancy pants Washington dinner party this past weekend, I have been testing my companions with a hypothetical scenario. My premise has been to ask what Twitter management should do if Mr. Trump loses the 2020 election and tweets inaccurately the next day that there had been widespread fraud, and moreover that people should rise up in armed insurrection to keep him in office. Most people I have posed this question to have had the same response. Throw Mr. Trump off Twitter for inciting violence. A few have said he should be only temporarily suspended to quell any unrest. Very few said he should be allowed to continue to use the service without repercussions if he was no longer the president. One high-level government official asked me what I would do. My answer? I would never have let it get this bad to begin with. Now my hypothetical game has come much closer to reality. In using a quote to hide behind what he was trying to say, Mr. Trump was testing the system using a tactic that is enormously dangerous. Anyway, so she winds it up.
What tactic was dangerous?
Oh, he tweeted a quote from someone who said that there would be civil war.
Oh, right, that thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, to help them figure it out, let me end with the words of Abraham Lincoln, who knew a thing or two about civil wars and what they really mean. Let us have faith that right makes might, and in that faith let us to end dare to do our duty as we understand it. It's your duty, Kara Swisher, to protect the nation from this evil scourge. I would love nothing more than for Twitter to cut him off, shut him down, because that would be the end of Twitter. And wherever Trump decides to go next, everyone will join. And I suggest Gab. Just go all out, Mr. President. Go straight for Gab. Do Mastodon. Whatever the hell you want. Just go straight for it. The country will go. The journalists will go. They will have to sign up. They will have to participate. It doesn't matter where he is. The people will be there. Kick him off Twitter. Kick him off.
You're on a roll.
I know.
You're on a roll.
I'm super happy about this. It's but for a so-called journalist, because she considers herself a journalist, even though she identified someone else as the pod father, bitch. So I do have a personal beef with her.
Yeah.
She's got
that part of journalism right.
What, the making
inaccuracy?
Oh my goodness. Okay, we've gone nuts.
Okay, well, let's go a couple of things. There's something I just want to point out, a little something people can be on the lookout for. Mm-hmm. I've bitched about this before a million times. I want to play 2 clips. Mm-hmm. And I can also say that I've seen this in the press 2 or 3 times. This is Amy Goodman. This is Amy Goodman this is the top clip. Play this.
President Trump is continuing to lash out at House Democrats for opening an impeachment inquiry after he pressured the president of Ukraine to investigate his political rival, Joe Biden.
Yes, one of your favorite words. Lashing out, I tell you.
Only Amy has been using every time she refers to Trump, he's never doing anything. He's never criticizing or condemning, or he's speaking out, or he's never whatever. There's a lot of.
May I make an observation before you go into this?
Sure.
The term lashing, I believe, I heard for the first time and most in the series Roots. This is from slavery. The master would lash the slaves. I think it's no coincidence she's using this word that way.
I believe that may be the subtext they're trying to get with. But let's read the definition of lash out now that you brought that up. Definition is hit or kick out at someone or something. Attack someone verbally, which is what Trump does. But you can also use the word attack. Why should you use the word attack? But curiously, there's nothing about slaves in this particular definition. But I know what you're saying, and I think you're right. There's a British version that nobody's known. Spend money extravagantly.
He does that too. Lashing.
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with that use of the term.
I never heard it, but there's a bunch of spend lavishly, be extravagant, pay out, spend a lot of money, splash out, push the boat out, splurge. All those things.
Splurge. I love splurge.
So Amy's been using lash out as the only way of expressing anything Trump does. He's always lashing out. He's never saying anything. He's never speaking about something. He's lashing out. And I always thought this was an anomaly with just her because it's one of these things they do at that station. But meanwhile, CBS now is using the term. Play this. This is CBS adopts lashing out meme.
All righty.
Good evening. I'm Rena Ninen. President Trump on a tweet storm today, lashing out at House Democrats, labeling them do-nothing Democrat savages.
Yeah, lashing out, the tongue lashing.
So I saw it in the New York Times. I've seen it everywhere. It's starting to show up. I guess they picked up. Amy finally is leading the way.
Yay, Amy.
Amy Goodman is leading the way to using it for everything.
Happy.
Just whatever Trump does, he's lashing out.
So happy for Amy. Finally, she's recognized.
Well, it took a while, but they're not crediting her.
Amy the meme maker. She's all over it, ladies and gentlemen.
Lashing out.
All right, I'll get you started on this. Unless you have something else, I'll get you started on the next segment. Okay? You have anything else?
What do you got?
All right.
Not on that. No, I'm good. Oh, my next segment is going to be on Hillary.
Yes, that's why I'm going to lead you right into it. Oh, stand back. Oh, here she comes again. Oh, no. Steve Bannon, also known as Steve Bannon. I think this was an in-depth interview on, I'm sure it was Fox.
Right now, the way they're doing it, this blitzkrieg, particularly what's going on in China and China's partner Iran, it couldn't come at a worse time. But you know what? That's not going to stop them. Right now, what they want to do is nullify the election. They think they have a weak field, and they're prepared, it's like in chess, they're prepared to sacrifice a rook to take down a king.
Sure. Well, Joe Biden's gone.
They will throw Biden away, right? They'll throw Biden away to get to Trump and hope Elizabeth Warren, or I even think Hillary Clinton or Bloomberg or some centrist comes in here and takes. Oh, I think
Hillary Clinton might be back to run again.
Hillary Clinton's doing a whole thing on a meeting this week for a book she wrote with her. But she came out yesterday, said he's it's an illegal president, illegitimate president. He's got to be removed from. He's a clear and present danger. The Chinese Communist Party is not a clear and present danger. Donald Trump's a clear and present danger. She's running. She's just trying to decide how to fit her way in.
Yep, Steve Bannon finally listening to the No Agenda show. He says it right there. She's running. Yes.
He's listening to old episodes.
Yes.
So the current thinking, by the way, for anyone out there who's keeping score, and some people making bets, is I think a 13-1 shot right now that she I either declares or gets the nomination. If she declares, she gets the nomination.
Right. Well, seeing as they poisoned Bernie or whatever they did. Oops, blood clot.
Well, I do have. Let's play that clip. I have a little background on that. I think I have the Bernie, the Bernie being hurt clip. Sanders CBS stent.
That's exactly what happened.
All right, some more breaking news to share with you. Bernie Sanders will be off the campaign trail for a few days after being hospitalized for chest pain. The Sanders campaign says the Vermont senator experienced chest pain during an event Tuesday evening and had 2 stents put in to clear a blockage in one of his arteries. A statement from the campaign says Sanders is, quote, conversing and in good spirits. The campaign also says they are canceling his events and appearances.
So you can recover pretty quickly from this, but it's over for him. There's no one will have trust in his health at 78, 76, 78. With this going on, the only questions he'll get is, how's your health? I think it's over. I think he's done for.
He's done. There's no doubt about it. And I think you might be right. You could probably, there's different things you could get somebody to ingest and it would have a little heart issue. And then, stents.
The timing is uncanny.
The timing's a little too tight. And he may not be on the debate stage. The debate's coming up next week.
We have an empty seat at the podium.
The debate will be on the 15th. Bernie probably will be. He may or may not be up there, but if he's up there, they're going to be staring at him because it's like, this guy just got back from the hospital. He look healthy.
They'll be zooming in on him.
And they'll be talking about it down the guys doing. How's Bernie look? Bernie looked pretty good for a guy who just came off the table. And so it's going to be. So he's done. So he's
sadly he's done. He's done.
He may not show up, but on the 16th, Hillary will announce the day after the
next debate.
And the reasons we have one of our producers who's tracking this, an amateur intelligence guy, and he noted that Hillary's having a huge fundraiser the next day at her house.
Oh, fund for what? What does she need to raise funds for?
Hello.
Oh. Well, wait.
What does she need to raise funds for?
So I have
getting closer. It's getting closer. She may still bail, but I don't see why she would.
I mean, it's set up so beautifully. We've got Biden is just. I mean, he's just going to have to give up. Bernie is out. Liz Warren. I don't know. I don't see what she could do. By the way, you saw what WinRed did. With what, did they raise $125 million with their yelling tactics at people? That works pretty well. We should try that ourselves. Hey, how come you haven't donated? You heal.
The reason they had to get rid of Bernie is because Bernie was number one on the Democrats, raising $25 million. The next to him was Buttigieg, who raised $19 million, and then compared to Trump, who raised $125. So the Democrats have to look at this and say, wait, we don't want Bernie in the first place. but he's raising the most money. We have to put a stop to that. So let's just put a stop to him.
Literally, it's like, hey, man, Bernie just raised $25 million. Take him out! Take him out! Take him out! Take him out!
So, yeah, 125. So Hillary shows up on The View. And she showed up everywhere. She was on. I didn't get the clips from.
I have one from Colbert and I have one from Rachel Maddow.
Okay,
from
why
last
don't you
night.
play your clips in? Because I have a 4-clip series from
good.
The View that
right.
I want to analyze.
Right,
and
so
then we can. Yeah,
I did not do The View because I saw your clips come in. I saw The View. Okay, so I don't have to do that. So last night was the night before. Yeah, the night before she was on Colbert. And I only just kind of got the intro and the cackling and then her statement just so we can hear how she's thinking.
Glad to see you again.
Glad to see you. Glad to see you.
You can't deny. They love her at the Colbert Show.
Thank you.
Yes, very nice.
Very nice. Very nice.
These are people who are big fans of the alternate timeline we're not living in. It's so nice to have you both back here.
Thank you.
And I want to talk about your new book, The Book of Gutsy Women.
Right.
Right.
Let's hear it for
women.
women.
We're going to do that in just a minute, I promise you. But your fault for coming on Ukraine Week. Now,
I think I can do it. I'm getting there.
we learned about the Trump-Ukraine call, the private server. Is it time to, dare I say, lock him up? What do you make of it? Sorry. I created a monster.
Isn't that interesting how she should say, now, that's not really cool. Two wrongs don't make a right.
I created a monster. I apologize.
Okay. So here we are, and we have started an impeachment inquiry. Which will look at the evidence.
We will look at the evidence.
I think that's exactly what should be done. I believe strongly that this particular incident has had such a huge impact because we've known for a long time that he was a corrupt businessman who cheated people, and we've known that he and his campaign asked for aid from Russia. We've known that. But to see him in the office of the president putting his own personal and political interests ahead of the national security of our country just pierced through whatever confusion or denial people had. And at that point, Speaker Pelosi rightly said, this is something we have to investigate, and that's what's going on.
So that's what's going on. I love this blatant just lying. You know, and I'm so happy we early on, the minute this transcript came out and we had all the pieces and we could see pretty much exactly what happened. But that's not the story. This is just repeat. And of course, let's go on Rachel Maddow.
What can you tell the American people watching right now about why it's important for us to support Ukraine?
Well, first of all, look at
why it's important to support Ukraine by selling them Javelin anti-tank weaponry. Not aid, but selling. But okay.
What can you tell the American people watching right now about why it's important for us to support Ukraine?
Well, first of all, look at what he did. He obviously used taxpayer-funded assistance passed by the Congress on a bipartisan basis to threaten and intimidate the new president of Ukraine, to investigate his political opponents for the purpose of advancing his own reelection. Now, that has so many elements in it, and it's one of the reasons why I think it's broken through to the American people.
Oh, yeah.
It also is troubling that Ukraine has been a subject of constant...
Hold on 1 second. So a troll in the troll room is saying, stop lying, Adam Curry. He held back aid. All of this done... Not in the call, none of this in the call, and I believe the aid was released even before the call, so shut up, troll.
...pressure from Vladimir Putin. and the Russian interests in Ukraine. So you have the Trump administration, the president, the vice president, others, actually pressuring a new president who has a part of his country invaded and occupied by Russian troops, and putting this poor new president in this vice. You think you're going to get military aid from us? Well, we have a favor to ask of you. Now,
that was not in the call.
We know that the aggressiveness of Putin has been unchecked, and in fact, I would argue, actually accelerated in both rhetoric and potential adverse actions to our interests because of what Trump has made clear that he supports and looks to Vladimir Putin. So Ukraine is a very specific example of what is at stake. But I don't think it's the only example that we could find if we looked at the transcripts of the calls with Vladimir Putin.
Let's get those transcripts!
For example, we still have no notes, no reporting about the many meetings and the many calls. We do know that in the Oval Office early in his term, Trump basically said to the Foreign Secretary of Russia, Sergei Lavrov, to the then Ambassador Kislyak, hey, I don't mind that interference in the election. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink.
So this is about Ukraine, but Ukraine is the canary in the coal mine about what this president and his allies have been up to.
Has she gone batshit? She's trying to bring it all back. Everything that doesn't seem like smart tactics on her part.
Well, yeah. No, well, she's still in denial, and she's still irked. But did she use the word that he wanted to get dirt? She didn't use dirt, which somebody else did, one of the congresswomen.
Of course.
Get dirt on his opponents with a plural.
Yes.
Well, who's the other one? Besides Joe Biden, who else was involved in this call? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
No, nobody.
No. No.
All right, so let's. So Hillary goes on The View. And, of course, she's just welcome there. And they're all giddy, except Whoopi. Whoopi, in these clips, I have nothing by Whoopi, and Whoopi is kind of glaring at her.
Well, I know why. Did you see what happened to her hair?
Whoopi's hair?
Yeah, it's all white on top now. She's made it all.
It's got some weird
white dreads. She probably woke up and went, damn, mistake.
I don't know, whatever. No, but she was glaring. And she was just inactive. It was just mostly one of the other women and McCain, the McCain girl, she's all happy for Hillary too.
Yeah.
So let's go Hillary on The View 1.
Let's get into 2020 because that's where the action is right now. Every day it changes. You're watching it from the sidelines, right? Though. How is that emotionally for you? How do you do that?
Well, look, I am obviously watching it because I care deeply that Trump is a one-term president or less.
Woo! Or less.
It's hard to believe, but it's still early.
It's still early.
Did you hear that?
Yes, it's rather early still. For what?
It's hard to believe, but it's still early. That to me, I wouldn't have recorded any of this if she hadn't have said that.
Exactly. Right off the bat.
Okay, good.
Yeah, good. Good catch.
That's a tell.
Yep.
So we go on to 2, and then I have this thing. There's a point in here that needs to be made that will be made, I think, after the Christmas. I can't remember, but I have noted good point.
Still, it's hard to believe, but it's still early. A lot of the people who were ahead at this point in prior nominating seasons did not end up winning the nomination. So it's hard to tell right now. I just wish everybody well. I've talked to most of them, and a lot of them call me from time to time and ask for advice.
And then I give them a heart attack.
And I just try to give them the very best advice I can because it's really important to have a group of strong messengers about the alternative. But I think it's a really good point, Abby, because you got the election going on, you've got the impeachment going on.
Oh, I like the strong group of messengers. They're not candidates. They're a strong group of messengers.
Now I remember what this was. At the very end, she says, it's really a good... What point did anybody make?
Let's hear it again.
A group of strong messengers about the alternative. But I think it's a really good point, Abby, because you got the election going on, you've got the impeachment going on.
I don't know. She's just making her own. She's saying her own point is great, I think.
Well, I heard it from the beginning. Nobody made a point. There's just a bunch of questions asked of her, and she's blathering away, and she throws in, I think that's a really good point, which seems to me as though I'm talking to you, and I'm not listening to you. And you're saying something to me, and I said, that's a really good point, Adam. And then I start going on and on again.
This is something you actually do from time to time. I'll have to pay attention to it.
Well, I have sometimes not paid attention, but I'm not used these crazy little cliches or bromides to say that's a really good point.
All right.
When, in fact, if you listen to the entire conversation, nobody made a point.
No, no points. 0 point.
But she says it's a really good point. All right. Well, anyway, that's just a little thing I picked up on. And then there's this next one, which is clip 3. Oh, here she is. Now we're dealing with the blame game. Whose fault is it? She actually takes a little more, in a funny, offhanded way. She kind of blames herself a little bit, but she blames herself for trying too hard or being too good. This is a very funny clip.
Point, Abby, because you got the election going on, you've got the impeachment going on. The Democrats have to do two things at once. They have to do the impeachment in a thoughtful, deliberative, serious way.
Yes.
And they have to do a campaign that talks about why it would be better for Americans when it comes to health care or climate change or whatever the issue might be. So that's a difficult balancing act, but it has to be done. And I know everybody's trying the best they know to actually get that done.
Well, you're sitting at a table in good company. Megyn, myself, we've all lost presidential campaigns. My family didn't get nearly as far as yours did, but we all sat there the next day thinking, coulda, woulda, shoulda.
Oh.
Right? And I know that you've probably had many mornings where you wake up, and this book is all about being gutsy as women. And part of being gutsy is looking back and realizing what I could have done differently.
Right.
When you look back on your campaign and what Democrats today might do differently, what goes through your mind? What do you wish you had done differently in that moment?
Well, I wrote a whole book about it because it was devastating. It was devastating, as it was, I know, for the McCain family and your family.
There was more vodka involved in our election night.
Well, there was vodka involved every time I traveled with your dad, I'll tell you that. But you know, what happens on the road stays on the road.
He used to say that you were a blast, and he loved traveling with you. And he
my dad said the same thing about you, actually. He said he loved
I want to hear these.
I got all the good stuff.
But I think that goes partly to Abby's question.
Yeah.
I'm a serious person, but I'm also a fun person. But I think I probably came across as too serious and too. I really believed that my job, especially as a woman and the first woman to go as far as I did, that I had to help people feel good about a woman in the Oval Office, a woman commander-in-chief. And so I may have overcorrected a little bit because sometimes people say, oh, why can't you be like that? Or why weren't you like that? And I did feel a heavy sense of responsibility. And it was such that, maybe I wasn't as loose or open as I could have been. So I take responsibility for everything I didn't do as well or my campaign didn't do as well.
Well, you can't take responsibility for Russia.
Yeah.
Good.
In the end, she manages to blame Russia.
That's great.
So she's the best. So here we go. This is the end of it, and kind of a wrap. And there's nothing particular on here that I noted, but play it.
Responsibility for Russia.
No, but that's the issue. I really believe that there were unprecedented events in this election, the last election, that were beyond my understanding and nearly anybody else's. When we started talking in the summer of 2016 about the Russians, I think most of the press and the public goes, what is she talking about?
Yeah.
You can't go around making excuses. They didn't understand the attack that we were unfortunately suffering. So I think now, and here's what I've told all the candidates. I've said, look, you could run the best campaign. You could be the nominee, but you could still lose because, number one, you could lose with voter suppression. And you had Stacey Abrams on. And, you know, she is a champion for let everybody vote. And at the end of the day, who wins, wins, and who doesn't, doesn't. Or you could lose because of hacking and theft of material.
Oh, God. Jeez. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
So,
that's why she lost. She lost because of hacking.
Yes, and voter suppression. We all know this. So, okay, if people believe that, then we deserve Hillary Clinton as president. If that's how it's going to go, then we just deserve it. There's a couple things I wanted to play before we take a break. We're running long. Affiliates, please take note. Because there were a few interesting little bits that I picked up here and there. First, a nice, quick little compilage that this impeachment, just so we remember, because it's hard to keep track of the bull crap. This has been going on since the day Trump was elected, the call for impeachment. An M5M compilage.
If he takes the risk of going to trial and he's convicted, that could be seen as an impeachable offense.
If Trump were caught on a video camera snorting cocaine in the White House, maybe with one of his children, there was at least a chance he'd be impeached.
If he's not a legitimately elected president in your mind, there are tools that Congress has.
I don't see how that wouldn't be an impeachable offense.
That tweet fits the Republican definition of an impeachable offense more fully than what Bill Clinton was actually impeached for.
Impeachment is very difficult. Grounds for impeachment. It's an impeachable offense. Perhaps impeachable offense is impeachment the appropriate remedy.
Something through the Congress like impeachment.
All of that may be impeachable.
That's an impeachable offense.
Is that an impeachable offense?
Is that an impeachable offense to you?
He's much more vulnerable to impeachment.
A potential ingredient of impeachment.
Where do you see an impeachable offense?
It is grounds for impeachment.
Potentially criminal or even impeachable.
Grounds for impeachment, or does that not go far enough in your view?
Grounds for impeachment. This tweet alone may be an impeachable offense.
Let's talk about impeachment.
Impeachment is on the table.
Which impeachable offense is an impeachable offense?
Do you see an impeachable set of offenses?
It's an impeachable offense.
If that's not impeachable, I don't know what is.
The president shall be removed from office on impeachment.
Is it impeachable?
100% is impeachable.
Very substantial evidence that the president is guilty of high crimes and misdemeanors.
Grounds for impeachment.
Tipping point. Talk of impeachment reaches a fever pitch on Capitol Hill. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi under growing pressure from her own party.
Here we go again.
So really just the last 3 bites there in that compilage were from 2019. All the rest is from the day he became president. Yeah. Now, you mentioned something on the last show, which I went back and found. And because the credit for the impeachment, for Nancy Pelosi's decision to impeach, was not given to the squad. It was not given to the 4 women of color. At least not by CNN and perhaps not by the Democrat Party. No, it is the badasses. The badasses are the ones who are responsible for the tipping point in the impeachment, CNN explains.
Even before they were elected,
You have adopted the badass label.
these freshman congresswomen created their own group, the Badasses.
I might point out all of these women are white.
We're out running for Congress, across the country. Then we kept running into each other. Badasses kind of came organically from the group since we all had either served in the military or in the CIA.
Being able to text folks and say, I'm really getting hit up on this issue. How have you been handling it? I'm not sure how to translate my service into something that's relatable. How do you guys do that?
Translating their service is exactly what they did with their 180 on starting an impeachment inquiry. Going from no to yes after hearing President Trump admit he spoke to Ukraine's leader about Joe Biden. Others followed suit, including the House Speaker.
The specter of having the sitting president of the United States, use leverage over a foreign leader to get dirt on an opponent. Like that very basic idea, I think, cut for us as national security people just close to the bone on, sort of our democratic institutions.
They penned an op-ed along with 2 freshman male veterans.
It was a great example of the power of teamwork and the power of kind of putting country above
Was
party.
it all for one and one for all?
Oh, absolutely.
I think we all sort of came to that conclusion together. We texted each other, and I think we were all going, okay, I think this is all changed. This is a bright line.
Backing an impeachment inquiry is risky political business for these congresswomen, already some of the most vulnerable in the House. Democrats who won in mostly Trump territory.
I believe that if I am out there explaining what these allegations are and why they are so deeply concerning, that people will understand why we had to take a stand. All of us in our prior lives, all the time, had to make hard calls for the reasons we thought were right when we knew that not everyone would understand or even know. And that, to me, is something I feel comfortable doing because I've always had to do it.
So the badasses here who are now being given credit extensively by CNN, I've never heard of. Alyssa Slotkin of Michigan, Abigail Spanberger of Virginia.
I almost had a Slotkin clip because Slotkin comes on. I'll have this clip.
She's ex-CIA, I think, isn't she? She's a spook.
Ex-military, I know. She might be a spook.
I think she's a spook.
But she's a young millennial spook, and she seems like a dimwit. So I really doubt she's
well, of course not. Go ahead.
But the thing was, she goes on, and you can tell by listening to her that she has never read, and she has been told what to do. She has never read what we've read and what we talk about.
But more importantly,
she never read the report on this.
More importantly, this is a rebranding. They're trying to rebrand away from the Squad. The Squad is toxic.
No, I'm going to agree with that. The Squad is toxic. It's Trump that's tried to make them the head of the Democrats, and everybody's playing along now with trying to make these badasses, these women, the titular heads, the representative heads, the face of the party.
Yes.
And meanwhile, and nobody notices the blatant racism.
Well, I did. I'm sorry, they're not.
And by the way, we're talking about the Squad, the black and Muslim mixture, and who knows what.
It's no good.
Let's also mention Maxine Waters and Al Green, who have been calling for impeachment and actually thrown it to the floor. Al Green put a resolution up that got voted down, but he's mashed potatoes. I mean, what is the how come these guys get no zero credit?
Maxine, of course, not standing for this blatant racism from her own party. She's got to get out there. She's got to get her word in, and she's doubling down.
Congresswoman, I want to ask you about something you said. As you know, and many of our viewers know, you speak your mind. Many people like that, and as I think you know, many people disagree with you. It's politics. Right. I want to read something you said today to get a fuller understanding. You said, with regard to Donald Trump, he's using mob language. He's implying people should be killed for whistleblowing. Impeachment's not good enough for Trump. He needs to be imprisoned and placed in solitary confinement. But for now, impeachment is the imperative.
That's right.
I ask you tonight, are you speaking literally, and do you have any concern you're prejudging the House impeachment and Senate trial process by declaring he should be, I guess, convicted and held in solitary?
No, not really. As you said, I said impeachment is the imperative. I did express myself in ways to show how terrible I think he is and how he really should be punished. But, of course, impeachment is what we're focused on right now.
I like the whole solitary confinement. Don't backpedal. I think that's great. Now, here's the one that really has been bothering me because I've been hearing this for a while.
And by the way, so I'm going to stop you real quick. In fact, if she didn't backpedal and she's stuck with the solitary confinement thing, it would have improved her popularity amongst the crowd that likes her.
Totally. I don't know why she's pulling back on that. I don't
know why she backed off on that. Stick with it. If you think the guy should be in solitary confinement or electrocuted for that matter, stay with it.
Keep on it. All right. So here's the thing that is very interesting. And this is the meme that's going around. I've read it here and there. I've heard it a couple times, and I finally got a clip. And this clip is from a massive douchebag, Mike Murphy. He is a campaign advisor for Romney, campaign advisor for McCain. He'll even refer to Romney as if he doesn't work for him or never did. And the way impeachment works, briefly, the House files articles of impeachment, then it goes to the Senate. There's a jury trial in the case of impeachment of a president. The Chief Justice will preside, and the Senate is really only the jury. They then listen to all the evidence presented, and it could be quite extensive, and then they will go and vote. And now listen to this Romney douche.
But this transcript, certainly on the face of it, does not clear the president as they've been claiming.
Yeah, no, the old theory on impeachment was it would help the Republicans. I think that's out the window.
I left that in there. Actually, I left a bit of of Andrea in there just so you could hear him say, yeah, no.
Yeah, no, the old theory on impeachment was it would help the Republicans. I think that's out the window now. This is a much clearer incident than the Mueller report information. And so when the president released this transcript, you really have to parse your way through it and eliminate all subtext to say no quid pro quo. I mean, I agree with David. It doesn't have to be a quid pro quo. But look at the context. The aid to the Ukraine defensive military aid was held up. The president of the Ukraine asked for anti-tank missiles because he's got a problem. Russian mercenary tanks. And the president says, well, let me talk to you a minute about some other things. I'm a great friend of the Ukraine, except there hasn't really been paid back. Let's get into this Biden matter. I mean, it's a classic shakedown. That's going to be the argument. And I'm telling you, these Senate Republicans, should the Democrats vote impeachment, which I think is far more likely than not, are going to be pinned down to a yes-no answer. And if they provide cover for Donald Trump on this, a clear violation of his role as president, we're going to lose Colorado with Cory Gardner. We're going to lose Maine with Susan Collins. We're going to lose Arizona with Nick Sally. And it's going to be, the Democrats will put the Senate very much in place. So it's not only a question of what they ought to do, the cold hard politics of it are going to get worse and worse from Trump. And maybe that'll motivate him going forward. I think Romney's right. More facts. I can tell you this. One Republican senator told me if it was a secret vote, 30 Republican senators would vote to impeach Trump.
I hear this secret vote everywhere. Yeah, if it was a secret vote, then we'd really get a true vote, a true, real vote of what these senators think. If it was a secret vote, they're actually trying to push for this impeachment in the Senate to be a secret vote. Jeff Flake is saying
secret vote. It's quite likely that a lot of Democrats would vote the other way too. So that's nonsense. But this is interesting to listen to, because if you remember before the election, the same kind of guy, and I think this guy was one of them, that was on all the networks saying, "Oh my God, the reason what's going to happen is the Republicans are going to lose the House. They're going to," and they didn't lose the House. They won the House. They only lost the House recently in the midterm elections. They're going to lose the House. They're going to lose the Senate, and Hillary's going to be president. And they had all this saying, "We're not going to win this. We're not going to win that." I wish I had those clips, but the same clips from 2016 this guy sounds exactly like that. It's going to be bad for the Republicans, and it never turns out to be.
Well, keep your eye on this secret vote business. I don't even know if that's possible.
It's rules are rules, and it's a funny thing to talk about. It's another talking point. McConnell's not going to let it happen. There's no way they'd have to change the rules of the Senate to do it, which is not going to happen, A. And B, this is just another, he would have been impeached if
it was a secret vote.
It was a secret vote.
All right, I'm going to take us into our rest moment here with a setup.
Jeez.
A setup for end of show ISO. I think the M5M really missed a great opportunity, so they can take this from me. And they can make their own little mix if they want to, but I'm giving the M5M some ammunition here against President Trump. Listen to this clip when he was sitting with the president of Finland. And there's a lot of static. Here we go.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, it was just a follow-up of what I just asked you, sir.
Listen, you ready? We have the president of Finland. Ask him a question.
I have one for him. I just wanted to follow up on the one that I asked you. Which
did you hear
what
me?
Did you want?
Did you hear me?
Yes.
Ask him a question.
Now, I don't need to play the whole clip. Did you hear the ISO? Right at the beginning. Get ready.
Did you hear me?
No.
Okay.
Right at the beginning.
Are you talking to me?
Oh, yeah.
You talking to me? He's doing De Niro.
Driver.
He's doing De Niro. You talking to me?
Are you talking to me?
I mean, they could totally pull in De Niro. They could. He's a gangster. He's a horrible person. Shoots women in their private parts.
Are you talking to me?
At least that's what I remember of the movie.
That is a superb ISO.
Yes, I think we shall use that for the end of show. And
I don't have anything to top it.
With that, I'd like to thank you for your courage and say in the morning to you, the man who put the C in the Clinton resurrection, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. John C. Dvorak.
In the morning to you, Mr. Adam Curry. Also in the morning to all the ships at sea, boots on the ground, feet in the air, subs in the water, and all the dames and knights out there.
And a hearty in the morning to the trolls. You can find them at noagendastream.com, where we have a stream of some of the most popular podcasts anywhere to be found. They're on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you can troll along with your friends. Some of the shows are live. In fact, someone did a good troll on Horowitz the other day. I heard you guys were live, and he was like, oh, I have to kick someone out of the chat room. I need to teach him. You don't kick trolls out of the chat room. You let them troll. It makes them feel good. It makes them feel happy. NoAgendaStream.com. And in the morning to our artists.
He used to kick people out all the time.
Yeah, but that was when it was a chat room. Now it's a troll room. There's a difference. In the morning to Mike Riley, who without a doubt put a lot of work into the artwork that we selected as the album art for episode 1177. The title of that episode, Moral Army. And this was the Artist at War, which was total inside baseball for the show, and I think everyone appreciated it exactly for that reason. We had Nick the Rats in there. We've got comic strip blogger. It's a drawn up fight to the death. We've got Darren O'Neill. I mean, everybody's in this piece, and it was an original piece and just a dime. I mean, I would want this printed out and framed. That's how good it is.
I'm going to put it on a mug. I will say this: if we hadn't have teased the fact that Nick was going to get a three-peat, and they needed a block, somebody needed to block him, which started the war. The piece may not have happened, but it did, and now it's going to be brutal.
Well, no. Nick the Rat this morning announced he will not be submitting artwork for this episode.
He's gone on a comic strip blogger hiatus.
Yes, he's taken himself out. He's out of the running. And by the way, I would like to mention I've been in contact with Apple, and indeed, the Apple Podcast app in the new iOS 13 is broken and does not show episodic album artwork. They're aware of the issue, and I know the people I talk to inside of Apple care about it. And they would really like it fixed. In fact, they identified the bug themselves because they subscribe to the best podcast in the universe in there at Apple. But apparently it's not high enough on the radar. I don't know how it works. But I think it's a huge mistake. I think it's very bad that Apple is not prioritizing this because everyone is going to run away. And they're going to run to Overcast on iOS, which is a great app made by a guy who gives a shit about podcasting. So I'm very, very disappointed in their priorities over there. No, dark mode. That's cool. Dark mode. But actually breaking something that was working and not fixing it? Oh, no. Who cares about the art? Dark mode. NoAgendaArtGenerator.com is where you can find all of the artwork that is submitted for every episode. We have 10 times the amount of submissions as we do, that, of course, even episodes. We love it. People love looking at them. They're fun. They're fun to browse through. And you can also go to noagendashop.com where they will put this on a mug and they will give a piece to the artist, take a piece for themselves, and a piece to the show. It's all part of our Value for Value network. And we love it, and we love what our artists do. Thank you very much, Mike Riley, for the outstanding work on the previous show, 1177.
I don't think Riley's ever gotten a three-peat.
Not sure.
I'm pretty sure there's only very few people that can do it. I mean, Martin JJ for sure. I don't know if Nick the Rat has. He might have, but Martin JJ for sure. And then some of the guys who long since retired.
Couture?
O'Neill for sure.
Yeah. No, they've retired so long ago we forgot who they are. This is bad.
I can almost remember.
This is bad. Yep.
All right, well, it's beside the point because we're talking about people who helped the show through financial contributions, starting with Sir Mark Milliman. And he came in with a copy of War and Peace on here, $667. He also donated $333 further down on the same list for $1,000. So he actually made two donations, and I don't know if he explains why he did it this way.
Well, he explains a lot about the world in what he wrote us, and as much as his support of the show is so appreciated, this is just too long, and he's basically giving us the script to a podcast he should do. He really should. He has a lot of good thoughts about 5G. He's got good thoughts about the spectrum in general. But this would take us.
Well, he says right at the bottom,
8 minutes to read.
Around page 50, he says, "Again, don't worry about the note. Just name me as a producer, Baron." He's got a Baron. It's an Insta Baron, by the way.
Nice.
And give me a little job karma.
Okay.
As always, keep up the best podcast in the universe. One last thing: when you be coming to Boulder, time for a meetup. And he's specifically aiming this
at me.
Comment at you.
Yeah,
you've been there before, I guess.
I think I shall go. We need to do meetups, and you know what? I have a thought. Yes, I have a thought about when I could come out there. That I've got to discuss it with the home front. But I have a thought.
All right. Well, here, I'll just read a little bit of it. Last night he made a drunken donation. Wasn't really drunk. Only had one beer. But it was in a huge stein. I'm going to make this donation at the end of the month. I was going to, but anyway, he talks about
what he says is that he was hanging out with some millennials all night and felt compelled to reset his amygdala.
Yeah, well,
I think that's a dynamite idea. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, here's your jobs karma. Thank you, Sir Mark Middleman. You shall be retitled today to the title of Baron, and thank you for your courage, sir.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Okay, well, down to Sir Patrick Coble, the Earl of Tennessee, comes up next, and he comes in with 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. One of my favorite choices. Happy almost 12th. You've done so much to help so many people all over the world, and the formula continues to propagate with more outstanding shows, and now with all the meetups all over the world too. Thank you both again for everything you. By the way, thank you for helping with the meetups. You're probably the head meetup guy.
He's done so much. Definitely.
We need some travel karma for our family/work trip to Tokyo on the second Thursday this week.
Oh, that's right. He's going to meet up with Sir Mark and Dame Astrid out there.
Yes, he says. We're excited to see the No Agenda producers, Sir Mark and Dame Astrid, and their crew in a couple of days for the meetup on the 11th.
Fantastic. I think the guys from Osaka are going to join too, so I'm jealous.
Osaka!
What a great meetup.
I hope John likes the number, of course. I know he loves 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but I need a bigger donation with a 9 in the end to help become a Duke a little quicker. Jingles, nice. Travel Goat Karma with a random Sharpton and a dealer's choice.
And thank you, Sir Patrick Coble, Earl of Tennessee. Yes, I'm sure you will be a Duke before you know it. And let us know how that meetup goes. I am somewhat pictures. Jealous. Yeah, I'm jealous. Then you will love Sir Mark and Dame Astrid. They are two of my favorite people.
Tonight is the measure of whether the country begins in the state of Wisconsin a national drive to push back, or whether we have more to go to build a movement of resistance.
Here we go.
But resist we must, and we will much about that be committed.
Yes, 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 it is true.
You've got karma.
Allison Erskine comes in with $480, and she says, please de-douche me. Is this my first donation?
You've been de-douched.
I was hit in the mouth 5 years ago by my brother Benjamin Erskine, who is a douchebag.
Douchebag.
And this donation is to celebrate his belated birthday. I don't know, is he on the list? Probably.
I'll double check.
Ben turned 40, 480 months, hence the donation, $480 on September 27th, and the donation is what, $480? No, it's just $480. And I would be remiss if I did not celebrate him on the best podcast in the universe. In all honesty, I thought he was man overboard, but it turns out he's just a douchebag. Well, that's good news.
Yeah, that's better than
Happy
nothing.
birthday, big brother. I love you. John and Adam, I'm extremely grateful for the content, perspective, and lightheartedness you bring us twice a week. I hope to secure my damehood soon. How could I resist the Dame Drive?
We need dames. Dames on the show.
Dames. I'm grateful I finally joined the ranks of the No Agenda producers. No jingles, just requesting a job karma for my smoking hot boyfriend. Is it JT? Looks like JT.
JT, yes. And Ben is on the list, so stay tuned for that.
There is nothing like a day. Nothing in the world. Give motivation will acclaim. There ain't anything like a day.
Jobs, jobs, and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Hey, Sir Uncle Dave's next in line, $333.58. Uncle Dave is the very famous Uncle Dave of the Dvorak Uncensored blog.
That's right.
And carried over. He's the only one I know of. 338.58, Henderson, Nevada. Uncle Dave, night of the retired old farts here, the donation at 333.58, 333.3.33 plus 25 cents to the best small batch podcast in the universe. Keeping our amygdalas from glitching, according to the Mueller report. Why the extra 25 cents? Because this hoists me up to baronet. Is he on the baronet list?
Let me check. There were a couple.
I would appreciate it if you would goat me. That's a good one. He needs to be goated. Let me hear John on ants, ending with "That's true." For my investiture upgrade, and in honor of my age 65, please add a generous dose of Geritol and laxatives. Prunes are actually better than laxatives for you. Or I would be 65 this year if it weren't for what I assume is a no agenda back office snafu. I sent my last donation for my birthday, Adam's wedding day, May 19th. My note stated that, but I was AOL from the birthday list the following Thursday.
Oh.
As you know, your birthday isn't official until mentioned on the No Agenda show. This means I am still technically 64, which wouldn't be a problem except there are senior discounts and free drinks at Taco Bell I can't get until I'm 65. So if you please, add me to the birthday list so I may attain my rightful cheap eats. You are free, however, to completely neglect my birthday going forward, so I may stay at this age. Love and light. Yeah, you're on the birthday list.
Yeah, he's on the birthday list, and I've put him on the title change list as well. He wasn't there yet. And I won't play the whole song, but we can always get into the mood with a little bit of ants from you, Mr. JCD.
I got ants. I got ants. I don't know if we had ants. We had ant invasion. I was thinking.
You've got karma.
It's a 2-minute song, so.
Hey, you didn't goat him.
Oh, I'll goat him. I'm sorry. There's so much to remember.
You've got karma.
There you go. Consider him goated.
Last is Sir Mark Milliman, who's also first. He's first and last.
Nice.
$333 in Longmont, Colorado. Now, that's it. We don't have any associate executive producers.
That doesn't happen very often.
No, usually it's just, usually the other way around. We could bump Mark down.
No, let's not do that. You're a horrible man, Mr. Dvorak. Horrible man. We do want to thank these executive producers, all of them executive producers. You have the same title. It's a title you can use anywhere that credits are recognized. And that is many places in show business, particularly in Hollywood. But I think any resume that has, certainly if you're applying for some form of media job, you say, I was executive producer on the No Agenda show. And in this case, episode 1178, it makes a difference. So please feel free to do that. And thank you for supporting the show, especially since we didn't have any associates come in. This has become even more important. And we will be thanking more people later in our second segment. But these people are the ones that we'd like to highlight early on, just like Hollywood, except you only get the credit. You don't get the hookers on the boat. But we're the podcast. What do you expect? If you'd like to participate in our grand experiment, you can do so by supporting us for our show on Sunday. Go to
Dvorak.org/NA.
And just remember, who told you first that she'd be swooping back in? You know, propagate.
Our formula is this. We go out, we hit people in the mouth.
did want to make an editorial comment. Over the past probably the past week, it happened to you as well, I saw, some trolls come in on Twitter, and I only look at my notifications. I don't look at Twitter at all. I'm on noagendasocial.com. That's really where I get information from and can follow people and see everything they say. But on Twitter, invariably something will be posted and some douche hat comes in and goes, well, global warming, climate change, Trump, blah, blah, blah. And of course, I completely ignore that. But our producers, a lot of them of royalty, of standing in our peerage system, will jump in and start to argue, which of course results in a very long thread that I'm tagged in. And to me, it's entertaining, but I'd like to make a suggestion. This is futile, first of all. There's no, unless you're just doing it to get your kicks, and it's kind of the same guys. It's guys who are in different time zones. Sir Chris Wilson will, and although you're doing it in a finessed way, it's futile. I would say don't argue on Twitter and then say, hey, if you want your amygdala to be shrunken, or if you don't want to be all triggered, then go listen to the No Agenda Show. It's called Hitting People in the Mouth. I would like to suggest a different tactic, because this doesn't work with people who just will never listen, or they'll listen and within 3 seconds will decide we're old white boomers with boomer talk. This is the new insult. You're old boomer, straight boomer. I would say it would probably be more effective if you said, oh, hey, I hear you there, but we're members of a crazy cult that discusses news, and we laugh, and we're a cult, and we're very kind of wacky, and you might want to check us out. I think that's going to be more effective. In fact, I think people should call us a crazy cult on Twitter. Oh, it's just a crazy cult. What are your thoughts, John?
Well, I'm disagreeing with this. With the Chris Wilson incident.
Oh, you're familiar with the Chris Wilson
incident. You can do that if you think it's funny. But I look at these guys. That one guy that got me, he had one follower. He just joined that morning so he can make it.
Always check the follow count before you even engage.
If anyone has less than 100 followers, generally speaking, they don't even have a photo of themselves because they didn't take the time. And usually they don't have 100. It's usually around, they might have 20 maybe, but there's no photo. It's just they joined in 2019. I mean, I would just block them. I block, a lot of times in that particular, one thing that is a positive, because Chris will be irked by this, but one of the things that is a positive is that it brings people out of the woodwork. A bunch, I agree with him. Yeah. That show stinks. Boom, blocked. I can block people that I've never talked to. This is an easy one to block. I'll block.
I don't even.
Yeah, you don't even on Twitter. So
barely.
Why don't you? Well, you're on the other thing. The other, by the way, No Agenda Social is far superior. I agree. I'm there all the time.
Okay. The Unhoused of Austin, Texas. We are the ground zero of possibly making some interesting decisions in the homelessness conversation that is raging across cities, large and small, in these United States of our country, America. And we know that the city of Austin, the council in their wisdom, and the mayor decided to lift the no camping rules, and now people can camp and sit wherever they want, and that has brought the homeless into the city, into great visibility. If you haven't heard it, I did an interview with Alan Graham of Mobile Loaves and Fishes. You can just search for that. You'll find that interview. He has a fantastic concept, $6 million a year. He's housing or the people are working and paying rent. They used to be chronically homeless, 250 of them currently for this very small amount. So there's systems that are working. But no, that, of course, is not what Austin thinks we should do. And people are very frustrated. Town halls come and go. Nothing changes. Finally, our governor, Greg Abbott, took a stand.
Today, I sent this letter to Austin Mayor Adler. about the growing crisis arising from the Austin homeless policy. Some businesses are struggling to keep sidewalks clear. Some homeowners feel threatened. Some homeless are interfering with sidewalks, with streets, and with rights-of-way. Feces and used needles are accumulating at alarming rates. Let me tell you, if Austin does not fix its homeless crisis by November the 1st, I will unleash the full authority of every state agency to protect the health and safety of all Texans.
That should be interesting. Let's send the National Guard over. Let's take care of this Mayor Adler. I like this fight. Mayor Adler replied with very, well, here it is.
So let's talk about what's happened since June. The first thing that's happened since June, and I think it's important to note.
Who do you think he'll blame? What do you think he'll blame the problems on, if you were to guess?
Trump?
Good guess, no.
Is that we have maintained our laws against illegal conduct, behaviors that people complain about. It is against the law in this city to defecate or to urinate. It is against this law to masturbate in public places.
What?
It's against the...
I didn't know that.
Is that a problem?
Yes. Yeah, there are homeless people who are...
Are there a lot of potted plants around?
These are people with psychological problems, obviously. But there's not enough. The police can't do anything because they really are not empowered, and there's no, then nothing's going to happen, and the whole thing is just a sad affair. But yes, masturbating in public is illegal.
It is against this law to masturbate in public places.
Damn.
It's against the law in this city to impede or to block someone's ability to use public spaces, like on a sidewalk. It's against the law in this city to aggressively confront someone.
By the way, it's against the law to impede someone on the sidewalk. Never heard him say that when there were a million scooters littered all over the place, but okay.
It's against the law in this city and this state to criminally trespass. All of those things remain true. Now, I've seen the same social media posts that you all have seen and that many people see and react to. I went again to my police chief today and I asked him if we were able to enforce the laws in our city, and he told me yes. I repeated to him again, if you need additional support.
Notice what he's saying here. He's saying, I went to the police chief and said, do you have everything you need to enforce the laws of this city? Which would be a lot of things. He doesn't sound like he specifically said, can you enforce these minor infractions which are very debilitating to the overall community? No.
Can you back it up and play that again?
Sure thing. It's a weasel. He's a weasel.
Enforce the laws.
Hold on, a little more.
That you all have seen and that many people see and react to. I went again to my police chief today and I asked him if we were able to enforce the laws in our city, and he told me yes. I repeated to him again, if you need additional support or help in any way from the council to be able to enforce the laws in this city, ask and you'll get it. He tells me that he has what he needs at this point to be able to enforce our laws. So I look at the social media posts and the memes, and I recognize that even before June, there were people that were doing things that were against the law, and certainly there were pictures of them. We continue to have that same thing. Again, I would repeat, if my police chief needs more help from the council, just needs to ask for it.
So let's just push it off to the police chief. So, well, clearly, he says he has enough resources. He's not take it up with him. Take it up with the cops. It's not me. I'm just the mayor. I asked him. He said, yep. So, okay. So what's the solution?
The wonderful thing about this social challenge is that it doesn't make any difference if you're only concerned about people or places, or like most of us concerned about both. The answer is the same. We have to get people into housing and then with the appropriate services, because we know that works.
Yes. How's that working in California, John? We know it works, getting people into housing, affordable housing with services. Is that working out there? That's the system you guys have. How's it working? Is it working? Tell me, is it working?
Well, if you count tents as housing, it's working great.
Austin, Texas, one of a handful of states in the country that was able to reach effective zero veteran homelessness. We didn't do that by taking our vets that were experiencing homelessness and hiding them.
This is interesting. I can go to 5 different corners, or I can show you 5 different intersections on highways where apparent homeless, unhoused, are standing with a sign that says Vietnam veteran, I'm a vet. So if we have 0 veterans, are these guys imposters? What's going on?
We didn't even fix that by building large institutions to house them. We did it by writing down their names and then one at a time figuring out what it was that person needed, working with the apartment association and the real estate council, working with ECHO and Caritas and Salvation Army and Community First, and finding people better places.
He's working with Carrot Top. No wonder it's not happening here in Austin.
If we know what works, if only our community were willing to scale it, if only we had the resources to...
Oh, we don't have any money. Oh, I see.
Do what we know works. We did the same thing last year with a $5 million.
He's talking like this now.
We did the same thing.
Grant from the federal government to address homeless children on our streets. We used that money and we took half of the children and youth on our streets that were homeless
and ate them.
And we moved them off our streets last year.
Oh, okay. This guy is full of crap. And to say, the real estate association, they've got it. We don't have the money. We don't have the money. It's unbelievable. And I guess the very left-leaning people of influence in Austin think it's great. I don't know. I don't know what is happening here, but I look forward to November 1st. Let's see if...
he's going to get reelected.
No, he's not up for election. I think these jamokes, they sit in office for 5 years or something. It's not a...
Well, I think it's worse here. We got London Breed, of all crazy names, if that is indeed her real name. And she things have gotten worse in San Francisco since she got on. She's going to do this. She's another big bullshitter, big talker, no action.
Thing, yeah.
I was in the city yesterday to go pick something up, and I came back through the same area. I always take the same kind of a route. There's got a lot of homeless in it, and there's one little area where they put together this little cute little park, I don't know what the point of it was to begin with, but it's something between 2 freeways, and it's just filled with the guy. Every time I go there, there's more people there. Now it's like they're just an encampment more than ever before. I don't know. And now they're begging for money on the freeway entrances, but they're begging for money way up the freeway entrance.
Oh, really? So that ramp that goes up, they're all the way at the top?
They're not to the top yet, but they're way too far up.
Wow. Huh. Yeah.
But
there you go. What are you going to do?
What are you going to do? It's a bunch of Democrats.
Yeah, well, that's easy to say that, but
I know, and I say it all the time. It's chicken shit to say it is what you should say.
Yeah, it's chicken shit to say.
Chicken shit, man.
It's people who don't want it in their backyard. He says he got $5 million from the federal government, and that's how he got the vets off the streets. Although I see a lot of them holding a vet sign, so they must be lying. But we don't have the resources. This is one of the Google is building a 5,000 employee building right now downtown. There's money. We're building a soccer stadium. There's money. But no, not for this. I don't understand. If I didn't know, well, maybe I don't know better. It's being done on purpose. I don't get it. No one seems to understand this.
Start working on that one. It's being done on purpose.
Oh, that
sounds like it to me.
That's so cynical, though. If that's really true, that's horrible.
Well, it's got something to do with the Agenda 21.
Well, that's for sure.
So let's go listen to some screwball clips that they're all kind of discrepant. There's no theme here. I got no themes left for today. but I do have some clips we should hear.
Okay.
And there's a couple of kickers in here that are kind of interesting here and there. And listen to this one, see if you can spot the what? Are you what? This is a what? What? Anniversary of Khashoggi kicker. Democracy
and today
Now!
Marks 1 year since the Saudi-born Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi was brutally assassinated inside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. The masterminds of the killing remain at large. Last year, the CIA concluded Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman had ordered Khashoggi's killing, but the prince remains a close ally of the U.S. government. Earlier today, Khashoggi's widow and Washington Post owner Jeff Bezos attended a vigil outside the Saudi consulate in Istanbul.
In Istanbul, no less. Bezos went to Istanbul for that?
Well, that's what makes me want what?
Huh.
Jamal Khashoggi.
Huh.
Now, so they have a little vigil. I don't know how many people are there. And why is Bezos? Now, Bezos, Washington Post, I just own it. I'd show you how to make money. I'm not really too involved. Why is Bezos going all the way to Istanbul?
Oh.
I mean, maybe there's a business deal involved.
For the chicks, man.
The chicks.
The chicks of Istanbul.
Yeah, well, maybe. Okay, here's another one. Now, this woman I guess it was in Dallas, this Geiger woman who she walked into the wrong apartment, gunned down some poor bastard who was in there thinking she thought it was her place.
Yes.
The guy was unarmed, the whole thing. I mean, it's just one of the stupidest police stories you've ever heard. And she got found guilty. They found her guilty of murder. So they found her guilty of murder, and so she's toast. But right now they're in the process of sentencing her. And tell me what you find about this particular clip that is distressing.
Less than 7 hours before finding her guilty of murder yesterday for shooting and killing Botham Jean last year.
The case is now in the sentencing phase, and jurors are hearing more evidence, including racially insensitive text messages Geiger shared. Omar Villafranca is at the courthouse in Dallas. Omar, how will those text messages factor in sentencing, do we think?
Well, prosecutors are showing the jurors the text messages and social media posts to kind of give them a sense of who Geiger is, and that evidence will factor into their sentencing. And after yesterday's hearing, there's a lot for them to go over. And keep in mind, she faces 5 to 99 years in prison.
You don't think it's a little, I'd say, ominous that they're using her text messages against her? I mean, I think the public should be aware of this because yes, well, something we've been harping on for years, but this is a real solid example here because nobody even thinks of questioning this as like testifying against yourself.
Right.
Self-incrimination.
Interesting.
There's a whole bunch of things involved here, but no, these texts, you put it out there, you said it. Well, normally you say stuff, it would be like hearsay, I heard her say that she didn't like this guy. But no, you got your text, you're creating your own
death
dossier.
Warrant. Yes. Yeah.
Your own. You're putting together the evidence against you. People, think about it when you're texting anything.
Yeah, it's not just that. It's anything you do on social media.
I've always said that if you're going to hire somebody, especially not so much now because it's been kind of like changed. They've changed where all the stuff is. Now it's like Google Images and there's other things. Mm-hmm. But in the olden days, 5-6 years ago, I would always go to somebody's Flickr account if they had one, or any other photo account, and take a look at the pictures, and you find them at drunken at parties, woo, just looking like idiots and saying crazy stuff. Find their Instagram account, go through it, get far as back as you can.
That's right. While I have been professing the benefits of going off the grid or OTG, you are the true OG OTG guy.
OTG going OTG. I'm an OTG kind of guy. OTG going OTG.
Whoop, whoop, whoop,
I'm an OTG kind of guy.
Yeah. That's the OTG. Yes. Yeah, it's not so good to be participating in all of that. Did you see that in Manchester now, they have opened a slow lane for people to walk in while they're on their phone? Yes.
You mean
so it's like just like a bike path, we have a bike symbol on the asphalt. They have
this is idiotic. Yeah. This can't be true. Yeah, well, it's a hoax.
No, there's a picture even. There's a picture.
Well, send me the picture. I'll put it in a newsletter.
Yeah, let me just make sure I'm not full of crap. Yeah, Manchester. Yeah, there it is. It's AO Mobile Phone Lane, and there's like a little phone with footsteps in it, so that you know that that's where you can walk undisturbed while looking at your phone. It's the zombie lane, I tell you. That's really taking things far. Whereas
it's not just kids either. And you pointed out to me that people hold their phone constantly. They're holding their phone wherever they go, like they're just holding it wherever they are.
Yeah, oh yeah.
But a lot of people are now they're holding it and looking at it. They're looking. And I was at Costco the other day, and it's not just teenagers because at Costco it's mostly middle-aged people, and there's these middle-aged people and even some gray hairs, and they're roaming around looking at their phone.
Yep.
We're pushing the cart, looking at their phone, and you could step in front of it. You want to, hey, get out! You hit me.
Yep.
You get, I'm sorry, hippie.
Did you say get out of my way, hippie? Is that what you said?
No, you just.
You hit me. You hit me. I'm sorry.
You hit me because you can see one of these guys and you can position yourself so they kind of bump into you, and then you can make a big fuss about it.
Well, Costco has those enormous carts, which is fun. I'm going to try that. We're going to go. I'm sure we're going to go Saturday. And then when someone's on their phone pushing the cart, I'm just going to wheel it in front of them, and they're going to hit me. I'm going to go, hey, you hit me.
You can do it.
You hippie?
It's very easy to do. I should just a little Dvorak story. I used to work with a guy at the air pollution district who used to be an insurance adjuster. And he said he talked about different kinds of scams, slipping on the lettuce leaf and all these different things you could do to get a quick $500. But he says the real killer is you go to nowadays it's got to be even easier with the people on their phone. He says you go around Lake Merritt. There's a drive around Lake Merritt in Oakland. It's like a big thoroughfare, and you go around and you just keep looking and you find the woman who is putting on her makeup and looking in the mirror and trying to drive.
Yeah.
You pull in front of her, and then you keep an eye on her, and then slam on the brakes and let her rear engine. You say, "There's a dog in the road," and then he says, "If you really want to do it right," and this is advice that I've never used, but I'm going to give it to anyone out there. He says, "If you want to really do it right, do not move after you get hit."
Oh no, of course not. And rub your neck.
In the seat.
Rub your neck.
And say, I can't move. I need an ambulance.
You are a cart bumper, man.
He says you're gold.
So instead of that advice, here's the advice I give everyone. When you go OTG, which means you have a piece of crap phone that basically lets you text, take calls, and if you want, get on some kind of web browser. That's about it. I like the cloaked iPhone 5. I've got the Privacy Pro app in there. And no apps, zero apps, no apps, only the standard apps that come with the phone. So it does nothing, which is the whole point. The point is not to be a zombie. The government, that's a whole different story. It's a little harder to protect yourself from that. But because you have a phone that doesn't function, and especially in the beginning, it's a little hard when you're trying to get into this lifestyle of, like living and breathing and seeing your surroundings when you're outside, you can play a game. And it's the OTG points game. So here's how it works. For every person you see carrying a phone in their hand, 1 point. For every person who is standing somewhere out in the open, looking at their phone, not talking, I think that's different, but looking at their phone, standing, 2 points. Someone who is walking while on their phone is 3 points. If you see someone do that in the car, it's 5 points. You will rack up 100 points within 10 minutes. And that's when you realize how fortunate you are that you're not a mind-controlled zombie like the rest of them. And it will behoove you, your relationships. You'll probably have to drag some of your family members into the OTG lifestyle because you'll become very annoyed by them. And you'll start to notice, like, geez, now you still want to keep some zombies handy in case that's your tip. In case you need to look something up, you just say, hey, can you look this up for me? No, sure, boss. I got my phone here.
I had one the other day at dinner. I said, what is that about? Could somebody look it up? And I had two people looking it up, doing competitive lookups. So it works like a champ.
Competitive lookups.
Competitive lookups. See who can get to the lookup, get the right answer the quickest.
Hey, I have a couple of literally 2 standalone clips, which I think are very interesting, that I'd like to share. No big reveal, but this aired in the UK. I think it's ITV, maybe it was BBC. Director Chris Morris. And Chris Morris, he had Four Lions was his movies. This guy is a director, comedic director. He has a new movie out called The Day Shall Come. And I think the premise is, and it's American actors, as far as I can recall from the trailers, a black guy who gets drafted by the FBI, and I think that he's black is pertinent to the story. And, well, he'll talk about this movie in the context of what we call the FBI 6-week cycle. And this is not a revelation for anyone who's been listening to the show for, 6 months or longer, because you've heard about this. We heard it from an insider years ago that every 6 weeks or so, the FBI needs to uncover some terrorist plot so that they can remain relevant and keep their budgets going and their standing in the intelligence community. So he turned this into a movie.
Chris Morris, you'll probably fault me on this, but The Day Shall Come seems to me to be a more serious departure from Four Lions. Or are you going to tell me it's in exactly the same theme?
No, it's not exactly the same theme, because I think Four Lions is about 5 people who are terrorists. Right. And this is about a group of people who definitely aren't. So this film sort of comes in under 2 questions, which is 1, who is the biggest recruiter of terrorists in the USA? And 2, what would you do if you were broke, about to lose your house, and someone offered you $100,000? And that's really, the answer to the first question is, rather surprisingly, the biggest recruiter of terrorists in the States is the FBI. And the answer to the second one gives you the clue as to how our story works. Because the FBI have accidentally, it seems, developed a system which works rather well. And the system is, they make up a terrorist plot, they find someone to try and carry it out, and they arrest them for doing that.
And then get the kudos for having fought the Great War against terrorism.
Well, they get all sorts of things, really. I mean, it's quite complicated, but I guess the essential element of our story is that these people are not terrorists, but the government ends up putting them in jail
for very long
as if they were. Yes, 25, 30 years. And there's a close to 100% conviction rate in these cases. And I wasn't looking for this. I wasn't aware of this. I mean, I think we all sort of have a vague idea that the FBI may be involved in setting people up. But then when you follow the story that I did and you see it close up, it's jaw-dropping.
It's really shocking and very, very hard to believe. And yet the statistics, once you lay them out, are quite extraordinary. I mean, we're talking about 100 incidents of the FBI doing this, 100 known incidents.
More. Yes, I mean, I say it's based on 100 true stories. That's a sort of notional 100. It's in the right ballpark. It's more likely 300.
And people are shocked. I can't believe it. Well,
I have this movie, and I've watched it.
Oh, and?
It's hilarious. I believe it to be a comedy.
It is supposed to be a comedy.
They have stuff like, and Christina Hendricks is in it, and there's a lot of actors.
Oh, interesting.
There's some pretty interesting, a lot of anti-Trumpers like her are in this thing, and it's very strange. But because it's an anti-government movie, it's a very subversive film. They have this, for example, they got this one guy set up, and and it's the classic bit that we always bitch about. The guy's got the phone. Here's the phone. All you have to do is dial this number,
and it'll blow.
And the guy is such a moron. The guy who's the supposed terrorist says, "Yeah, I've been wanting to blow up the bank," and he says, "Okay, just dial this number." And they got they got eyes on the guy, and they got the whole thing. Listen, the guy's going, "Okay, what's the number?" He says, "The number's right here." And he says, "What does this tell me?" He says, "Okay, 3. Okay, 3. 8, 5. You say 5? Yeah, 5. Oh, 5. That's an unlucky number. I can't use that number. Give me a different number. And the guy goes, the guy is an idiot, and refuses to dial 5, and they don't know what to do. They need a backup plan to get him to punch in something in the phone. The whole thing is just definitely worth digging up.
It's disgusting is what it is. And I'm glad.
It's totally disgusting. But it seems, they make light of it. I guess they could probably. Yeah. Anyway, I do have a movie.
So I'll have to watch that one. The second clip I have here is one of our very observant producers was watching a CNBC special on 9/11 on the 18th anniversary, which is just a couple of weeks ago. It kind of came and went. And in this special, CNBC anchor Ron Insana, but I think he does mornings or middays, he was talking about the impact it had on Wall Street and how they had to, get trading going because when 9/11 took place, everything shut down. Air travel, of course, there was damage done to the computer systems and the exchanges. And he says something very interesting in this documentary, which one of our producers caught.
Remember, seven World Trade had not yet come down,
right?
And so when I went down to the exchange that Wednesday morning, I was staying with some military and police officers, and we were looking over in that direction. And if it had come down in the way in which it was tilting, it would have wiped out everything from where it stood to Trinity Church to the exchange to effectively, the mouth of the Hudson. And so there were still fears that if that building had fallen sideways, you were going to wipe out a good part of Lower Manhattan. So they did manage, to take that down in a controlled implosion later on, and the exchange was up and running the following Monday.
WTC 7 won't go away.
I didn't know they managed to take it down in controlled demolition. I thought it was fire desks.
Desks.
That's rather odd, isn't it now?
I thought everybody knew that.
Yeah, well. In the future, that'll just be the truth again, and then no one will give a shit. It's already 18 years. No one cares. No one cares.
No, nobody cares anymore.
Finally, some Brexit. I picked this up from No Agenda Social, or at least the concept of it, and went to get the clip. The comic strip blogger who is a Remainer, even though he doesn't live in the UK, as far as I know, hates Boris, hates the whole Brexit idea, which is fine. And we love that. We love having people with different opinions, of course. But he got really bent out of shape over this speech by the UK Home Secretary. What's her name? Priti, I think her name is Priti Patel.
I don't know who the Home Secretary is.
Priti Patel. She's she herself is immigrant. Her parents were immigrants. And here's what she said.
And as Home Secretary, at this defining moment in our country's history, I have a particular responsibility when it comes to taking back control. It is to end the free movement of people once and for all.
Aha! You hear that? We're getting rid of that free movement of people.
Instead, we will introduce an Australian-style points-based immigration system. One that works in the best interests of Britain. One that attracts and welcomes the brightest and the best. One that supports the brilliant scientists, the finest academics, and leading people in their fields. And one that is under the control of the British government.
Brightest.
Because let me tell you something. This daughter of immigrants needs no lectures from the North London metropolitan liberal elite.
So, Australia gets quite a pass on that with their points-based system. I've looked into it previously. You literally, if you're a rocket scientist, you can get in. Otherwise, you need money or you need family or seek asylum. That's another way to do it. And I think that's People are so against this. Now, comic strip blogger's gripe is that he says, well, there's no reciprocity. Must be reciprocity. I think his problem is that, this immigration policy says nothing about what happens to British expats living in Europe, but that's their problem. That's the EU's problem. I don't see how this woman has anything to do with it. But I like this points-based system. And it's not just if you're smart or have a degree, having family in the country, it gets you a point. Actually, I did look up the Australian points-based system. But there's a number of things. Age, there's all kinds of stuff that they've got in there. And no one ever really bitches about Australia's points-based immigration system. And they call it the hybrid selection system. Which can also be employer-sponsored. There's a number of different ways, but it's not just open. It's not just open.
Yeah, it's not an open border. No nations, no government.
No, at all. Is the UK Parliament back in session now? They're back, aren't they?
I think they are for the moment, and then they're going to be closed down again for a week.
So
they think.
John Bercow, the order man, has heard his voice, and
it's about time,
right? And he's very hoarse. And here's what he said.
Colleagues, I'm very grateful to the large number of people who've come up to the chair expressing concern about my throat, and their generosity of spirit and humanity are much appreciated. But I just want to take the opportunity to confirm to the House that the state of my throat, which is purely temporary, is not down to the consumption of a kangaroo's testicle.
Can you imagine? Why don't we have that in our parliament?
The problem is his voice is so gravelly that I didn't get the joke because I didn't hear it.
I'll try. Okay, I'll play the punchline.
Well, just tell me what he said.
I want to take the opportunity to confirm to the House that the state of my throat, which is purely temporary, is not down to the consumption of a kangaroo's testicle.
Not down to the consumption of a cankerous testicle?
A kangaroo's testicle.
Oh, he says a kangaroo's testicle.
Yes.
I don't get it.
He said the problem with my throat is not because I ate a kangaroo's balls. That's what he's saying.
Oh, okay.
How come we don't have that? We don't have any jokes here.
Trump tries and then he gets condemned.
Yeah, we used to be the jokers. We used to be the funny guys who would do something funny. The world would go, that's only Americans can come up with that.
We had one funny president, that was Reagan.
I'm not talking about the president, but just in general, we have a cute little. It was togetherness,
Oh, it's because the amygdala is a real problem.
Yes, it is. It's a real biological situation. It's a real problem with people.
And we should play those clips again. I do have a note that I want to read in front of the donation segment.
Okay.
But you got to get your pen out.
Pen at the ready.
Please keep us anonymous. My wife works at a private school that has very swollen amygdalas in the Washington, D.C. area, and I don't want her get in any trouble. Been listening since 2015. Started donating small amounts, and I'll just get to the point here. A few weeks ago, my smoking hot wife and I were on the phone when she was traveling to Canada Navy with her father and our kids, and she says, I've been listening to No Agenda, and I think you need to donate so that you can be de-douched. Over time, I've been listening. I've been hitting her in the mouth gently, and she didn't seem too interested. Well, finally it took. I was surprised by the fact that she was listening and felt it was important enough to donate. I let her know that I had been donating a small amount all along.
Ooh.
She's a regular listener now, and we often discuss things on the show. I've not really tracked how much I've donated over the years, and my wife said this when she said this. So I went back through the bank accounts and PayPal accounts and have surpassed the $1,000 hurdle.
Nice.
And he's got the accounting attached. And so here's where the pen comes in, because I did not send this to Eric.
I'm ready.
I would respectfully request that $1,000 be credited to my wife for her damehood.
Okay.
I'm so excited that she not only is she a listener, but she sees the value in what you two do both on both Sundays of the week or Thursdays. My long-time career came to an end back in 2012, and since then I've been struggling to figure out what I want to be when I grow up. It's been a long, hard haul, and a few times I think I may be onto something with a business that I'm buying into starting December 1st. My wife has not been the only reason I've been able to keep our head above water financially, but her patience and support has been invaluable through this trying time. Until she requests a change, now he says he'll be forever grateful for her. She paid the bills. Until she requested change, this is a surprise for her. Please name her Dame of the Field Hockey in the DMV.
Dame of the Field Hockey in the DMV. You got it.
Yeah, the DMV is what the locals say in reference to D.C., Maryland, and Virginia.
Ooh. All right.
I didn't know that.
Okay.
Anyway, thanks again for this awesome show and all the effort you put into it. But he would like some goat karma. Thank you very much.
You've got karma.
Take that, honey. I got a goat for you.
I'm going to show my support by donating to No Agenda. Imagine all the people who could do that. Oh yeah, that'd be fab.
Yeah, on No Agenda in the morning.
Now, we do have a few people to thank for show 1178, starting with Daniel Carver, $111.77.
$111.77. Yes.
Yeah, which is kind of a reflection.
It's kind of an episode number, kind of.
Yeah. Hey, there's our buddy Sir Cal, the Lavender Blossoms in Northville, Michigan.
Yes.
111.11.
Yes, thank you. LavenderBlossoms.org if you want to get some nice...
I thought it was .com. It's .org?
Why do I think it's .org? It could be .com. I could be completely wrong. Lavender Blossoms. I thought it's... Go ahead and continue. I'll check it out.
Rachel Fisher in Portland, Oregon, $100. And she has a note because she wants to call out Michael Mason as a douchebag. Because I know he listens and he hasn't donated. Thank you for all the great audio in on the last Thursday's show. I can't get that type of coverage anywhere. And then he wants an Obama. She wants the Obama no clip eventually. We can do that.
All right.
So. No. James Chu, $100. Baron Latican, $100. John Robinet, $100. And then we have a long note from Cynthia Williams.
If I can just say, it is indeed lavenderblossoms.org.
Really?
Yes.
Huh. Cynthia Williams comes with 91.19 from, and she's in Cumming, Georgia. And it's for a birthday today, and also a knighthood. She's on a knight list, is she?
Well, hold on. No. Hold on. If we read the note, by the way, shout out to Local 404. Andrew here with my donation following the impromptu Local 404 meetup on my birthday, in which I turned 33 on 9/19/19. I'd like this donation to be credited to my daughter, to be future Dame Sarah of the illegally annexed parts of Doraville, Georgia. So it's more of the Dame Drive.
Dame Drive.
Also,
Dame Drive.
Triple F cancer for my dad, who's undergoing chemo radiation surgery for esophageal cancer, and my aunt who had overrun cancer, and for myself, my aunt who has ovarian cancer, and myself who is in remission from lung cancer, never smoked. Oh my! I'm going to do that right now.
I guess so.
Oh, jeez.
You've got karma.
All right, there you go.
Lucky 88.88 from Michael Zavala in Concord, California. Abram Daly in Raymond, Maine, 8510. Daniel Walraven in Daniel Walraven in Reithoven.
Almost. Walraven in Riethoven.
Riethoven. 75. Keep the show running, he says.
All right.
And a shout out to Dutch listeners. Donate. Sir Sage Felker, 7094. He's got something.
He's changing. He's going to be. Let me see.
Soon to be Sir Sage Baron of the Whiskey Flats.
Yes, he changes his title today. Becomes a Baron. So that's fantastic. You got it. Looking forward to see you on stage in a moment.
Thomas Kelly Tate, 6660.
Found the show through the Grimerica podcast. That's nice.
Yeah, give him a D-douche his first time donation.
You've been D-douched.
Thank you, Grimerica. Sir Milkman, 6542. Anonymous 6023.
Please don't read my name. Keep me anonymous, but I enjoyed this avocados number donation from a cheapskate millennial. I don't know what it means, but I like it.
6023 somehow is avocado.
I like it.
Avocado. Maybe it's avocado. I don't know. There's some mathematical thing that sounds like
must
avocado.
Be something we're missing, yeah.
Annie C. Ann C. 60. Sir Luke of the Viscount of London. Sir Luke the Viscount of London, in London, 5777. Robert Bruckner, 5555. Ahmed Meehan in Calgary, Alberta, 5284. Eric Hokel in Mulrose, Deutschland, 52. Jeremy Cartwright. He comes in a lot. He's got to have he should be Sir Eric or Baron Eric by now.
Yeah.
Eric, let us know what your title should be. Have you been knighted? I don't remember.
I don't think so.
Jeremy Cartwright in Rockford, Illinois, 50. These are following people who are 50. We don't have a big list today. We had the following $50 donors, name and location. Andrew Overham in Knoxville, Tennessee. Bradley Ledin, parts unknown. Michael Janoski in Lydora, Pennsylvania. Eric Scholes in Frisco, Texas. Longtime boner. He needs a de-douching.
Mm-hmm.
You've been de-douched.
And boom, that's the end.
Yes, and
I want to thank these folks for donating and supporting and producing show 1178.
And Ahmed Mian said he's in desperate need of jobs, Karma. He has not had work for 6 months now. Please give me your well and truly tested jobs, Karma. It's really not our job. We didn't come up with the Karma thing. That's something the producers did. And I do believe somehow by everyone listening to this, and we're in the hundreds of people, I'm sure, at this point in our life cycle of the podcast who listen. And somehow that energy works. I can't really explain it, but we'll give that to you. And thank you to everybody who supported us today. This is our value for value system. All we ask is that if you found that this was of any value to you when you listen to this show, what else do you do with 2.5 or 3 hours of your time? Movies, maybe something on Netflix, whatever it is. Just assign that value to what we deliver to you. That's all that we ask. It's a very simple system. It's a grand experiment, and we're still here working on 12. What is our anniversary date? Isn't that coming up soon, our 12th anniversary?
Yes, I think it's at 27, 26, something like that.
October?
Yeah, and this month.
And what is 12? There's nothing, right? Is that carbite, or is there there's no gemstone?
12 is the biggest number, is the number one anniversary number for Asians.
Oh.
When I went to for example, I went to China a couple of times or even Korea, based on a 12th anniversary event. Because that's the big one. That's the big whopper. Because they have the 12, things on their calendars, 12 different animals, and rotate through them. So 10 doesn't mean anything.
All right. Well, that's coming up. But in the meantime, thank you for the support right now. Also, everyone who came in under $50, a lot of those people will do $49.99 to make sure absolutely no chance that their name is accidentally mentioned. They want to be anonymous. So that's perfectly fine. Also, there's subscriptions you can get on. Those are a lot that we see down at the bottom, 3333s, 1212s, 1111s. You can find many of these all in one place should you decide to join the experiment and support your show as a producer. Go to
Dvorak.org/NA.
By request.
Jobs, 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 and jobs. Let's vote for jobs.
You've got karma.
Yes. There we go with the birthday list. Today is, hold on, it's very loud. Today is the 3rd of October, 2019. Here's our list. A couple of belated birthday wishes. Allison Erskine says happy birthday to her brother Benjamin Erskine, who turned 40 on September 27th. Sir Uncle Dave, he celebrated on the 19th of May. So finally, you're 65, Uncle Dave, and you'll be on stage in a moment for an upgrade. Cynthia Williams turned 33 on the 19th. And we all say happy birthday to David Corbanu. Happy birthday from all your buddies here at the best podcast in the universe.
Title changes, turn and face the slave. Title changes, don't wanna be a douchebag.
Title changes today thanks to another $1,000 for the following. Sir Mark Milliman, you heard him earlier on. He becomes a baron today. We congratulate him. Sir Sage Felker also becoming a baron. And Sir Uncle Dave, Knight of the Retired Old Farts, enjoys his upgraded baronet status. If you'd like to learn more about that, you can go to Dvorak.org/NA and learn how you too can become a Knight of the No Agenda Roundtable. Or, as we like to drive it now, you can become a Dame of the No Agenda Roundtable. I do need a blade. We've got...
I've got a blade right here.
All right, there you go. David Corbanu, step on up. Along with wife of the anonymous donor who has given you a damehood. That's right. Thanks to your support of the No Agenda show in the amount of $1,000 or more, both of you join the illustrious round table of the No Agenda Dames and Knights, and we could not be more grateful. So I pronounce the KD. There we go. Sir Dave in Dimensby and Dame of the Field Hockey in the DMV. For you, we've got Hookers and Blow, Rent Boys, and Chardonnay. We've got brown cheese and aquavit and small hope, harlots and haldol, pepperoni rolls and pale ales, redheads and ryes, organic macaroni and plasticizers, bong hits and bourbon, breast milk and pablum, and, of course, mutton and mead for you. To claim your rightful title, go to noagendanation.com/rings. That is where you will give Eric the Shill your proper finger size. Go ahead and give Eric the finger, and he'll get that out to you as soon as possible. And let me see. Well, then we have... No Agenda Meetup. That's right, the meetups. Now, I got too many meetup reports, and I have to sort through them, but... The meetups continue to amaze everybody involved in the show, and it should amaze you as well, that all around the world, every single weekend, there's a meetup, usually multiple meetups, ranging in size from 3 people to 20 people. NoAgendaMeetups.com is hopefully where you can also read some of these meetup reports. I promise I will do a longer meetup report on Sunday, because I do have to kind of pare it down. It takes a lot of editing. People like to expand a bit. So please, there is a way for the organizer of each event to put a meeting report into NoAgendaMeetups.com. Go ahead and do that, because it's fun for everyone else to see the pictures and read about who was there. And here's what's on deck for today. We have a Shanghai meetup. Think about that. A Shanghai meetup. And then also one in Myrtle Beach and in Seattle. Tomorrow, Utrecht, the Netherlands. October 5th, Charleston, South Carolina, and Worcester, Massachusetts. October 10th, South Austin. I'm going to try and attend that one. Details to follow. October 11th, Tokyo. This will be the big one with the Earl from Tennessee and Sir Dame and Sir Mark and Dame Astrid. And we have the boys from Osaka. October 19th, Atlanta. The 20th, Louisville, Kentucky. October 24th, Nashville, Tennessee. The 25th, Portland, and one in Charlotte, North Carolina. And on the 26th, we have Nashville, Tennessee, and Colorado Springs, Colorado. These are fun to attend. And it is very necessary for your overall health. Bring your kids, please. Bring your kids, bring the neighbors, bring the granny. It's great, because here's an opportunity to just chat with people about things you're interested in, and you have no worries of anyone getting triggered or calling you a shill or whatever it is. And also...
Racist!
Racist. You'd be amazed at how varied the personalities are. Every religion, skin color, age. It's like a party, only a really cool party. And go to noagendameetups.com to find out more. And I vow to you, I will do a larger meetup report on Sunday's show. Let me see. Oh, yes, I did have... so we're running behind today. I caught Fox News Tucker Carlson in another native ad. It's pissing me off. Pissing me off. What did we talk about on just the last show as a part of Agenda 21?
You tell me.
We talked about not only is the climate and the earth is dying and we have to stop CO2, but also we can't eat meat. We have to eat
we can't. Yeah, meat,
grass and bugs and anything but meat. Can't eat meat.
Bugs are good.
Bugs. So in this particular instance, I'm fairly convinced that the meat industry is fighting back, as they should. It's their prerogative.
They should. Of course they should.
And this Impossible Burger and all, and by the way, thank you. Yes, I was wrong. I thought Horowitz was all in on it. I stand corrected. Sorry.
Yeah, he was all adamant about it.
He was butthurt. He was butthurt. I'm sorry.
Hey, I hate that thing. What's he talking about?
Hey, forget about it. You're talking to me. And so we always look at what comes out and what's being promoted. And whenever this douchebag doctor comes on Tucker Carlson's show, immediately I know that this is going to be a native ad because that guy is an idiot. I don't even know if he's a real doctor. He plays one on TV, but he's just a douche. And he kind of lets it slip. And again, it's a 2-minute segment. I believe this to be purchased by, what is it, the Cattlemen's Association? What is it typically, the meat?
I don't know who does the meat. I don't know. I should know, but it's something I don't know.
I think it's the Cattlemen's Association. I think that's what it is. So they need to get red meat and meat back on people's diet, on the radar, and get people to eat it again. So for years we've heard that red meat is going to kill you. And now apparently some survey... research says, no, that's not meat. True. That's not true. So listen to the Fox News Tucker Carlson show and Dr. Douchebag literally shill for the meat industry.
What do you make of this? Does this overturn your views on meat? Should we feel better about having a steak now?
It changed my views, and it made me wonder about all the Democrat attack.
One piece of research. This doctor immediately, changed my view. Change it right overnight.
What do you make of this? Does this overturn your views on meat? Should we feel better about having a steak now?
It changed my views, and it made me wonder about all the Democratic attack lately on our gaseous cattle friends, right? That we yes. actually rely on.
That is an anti-Agenda 21 talking point right there, and it even says cattle friends. Yeah, you could say they're cows.
Gaseous cow. I think it was pretty funny. I don't know why you hate the guy so much.
For red meat. And what this study did, and by the way, it looked at millions of participants in several studies. It was a very strong analysis of multiple studies. And it concluded that red meat itself, mainly unprocessed red meat, does not correlate with life-threatening heart disease or cancer, except in a very weak tie. Now, what does this mean to me? This means to me that I have to relook at red meat and say, wait a minute, it's a good source of protein. For some people, their only source of protein. It's a source of B vitamins.
These are the talking points. This is literally the ad talking points. You could hear Leo Laporte do this about, some product. It's the same thing. Well, it's a good source of protein, blah, 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 blah.
Of iron. It's got a lot of healthy ingredients in it, zinc. So I've got to wonder if we aren't throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I'm thinking, it's more of a lifestyle thing. Maybe we should be eating our steak with a salad or Brussels sprouts. The problem is, Tucker, that too many people eat their steak with French fries.
The total talking point. Total talking point, though. Of course it's true, but it's a total talking point.
And exactly. And then they have a dessert, and then they don't get off the couch. So if we could get people to exercise and eat more greens and more plants, maybe it's not red meat that's the problem.
But it never made sense, and I agree completely. I mean, obviously, potatoes and donuts will get you. I mean, no one kind of disputes that.
I agree, Tucker. It's actually probably the processed meat that we need to worry about.
Ah, there it is.
The bacon, the sausage, where you actually add chemicals like nitrates that could correlate.
Of course, we don't want to promote the pork industry.
Nitrates, that's a bogus thing.
But you're catching it. Dude, let's not promote pork. No. We hate those guys. Let's promote the meat guys.
With that. But I want everyone out there to know how poor this research is done that made those connections. They say to you, What'd you eat yesterday? Well, you may not actually tell what you actually ate. So they canvass thousands and millions of people. What'd you eat? And then they observe your response.
Now, here comes the payoff.
Don't really do what we need to do. Give somebody a great hamburger and a salad. Somebody else a great hamburger and French fries.
Well,
you might
right.
find out it's the French fries that are the problem. So shame on you out there that are throwing out all of our great hamburgers. Tucker and I are going to go have a steak after this. Not every day.
Endorsement.
Moderation. I'm a physician here, so I don't want everybody out there to have three steaks a day.
Right.
But most Americans tend to have 4 to 5 servings a week, and what the studies are showing is that that's not as egregious as people have been saying.
So it's not that I disagree with what he's saying, but this is paid for. I'm sorry. Everything in there was paid for. And then Tucker Carl's like, whoa, gee, it's so logical. Blah, 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 blah. Please. It's just one team against the other, and they're getting paid for it. He doesn't have any other ads. He's got to do something.
Yeah, well, you would do the same thing if you were in his shoes.
Well, here's your opportunity.
Hi, I'm Lex Friedman. I'm with Art19, and we're presenting here today to talk about our 2 key ad products in the podcasting space. So Art19 started life as strictly enterprise hosting for podcasts, and earlier this year, my colleague Corey Colessa and I joined to add a commercial there. And what we talked about today was the ability to run targeted ads within podcasts. Where historically, when people bought podcast ads, you were buying on a show-by-show basis. But now at Art19, we've added technology where we can sell on a listener-by-listener basis too. So if an advertiser comes to us and says, I want to reach millennial moms with bachelor's degrees, we can target those moms across a couple hundred different shows based on deterministic data we're using to identify them. So we can match them and insert an ad into the episodes they're downloading, regardless of what show it is.
Crap.
The state of the industry, ladies and gentlemen. We could target right down to complete, know exactly with a woman, millennial woman with an economics degree. We can get them all. We can blah, 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 blah.
Bull crap.
Thinking about here is how can we help digital buyers who love what they're doing when they're buying paid social?
I love buying paid social, John. Don't you love it when you buy paid social?
Totally.
Paid social.
They are buying paid search. How can we get them that kind of digital approach to targeting the consumers they want, but do it in audio? There's some brands that just haven't been able to get comfortable with host-read ads in podcasts because they want to make sure they control their voice themselves. There's some brands that love host-read ads, and we think that the two are complementary.
They're complementary, the host-read ads.
But where some publishers, it doesn't make sense for them to have host reads, either because the host doesn't want to, or it's a newsier show where they want to keep that wall. For some shows,
yeah, so to answer your question, no. I'd rather die. No. I'd rather die.
I'm saying if you were Tucker Carlson and you were on at Fox, you'd be making a lot more money, even though you're starving to death because they can't get any advertisers, so they're going to go with natives. But you're not.
Do you know what the millennial said the other day to somebody about me?
This should be good.
Are you ready for it?
We need a drum roll.
What does your stepdad do? He has a fairly successful podcast.
Fairly successful podcast. It's pretty standard. I think that was a good answer.
No. Of all the things you can say,
he could have said he is the co-host of the greatest podcast in the universe. Is what she should have said. But that's not what she said.
Yeah, he's got a fairly successful podcast.
What does that even mean?
I like a button. Ask me about my fairly successful podcast.
Okay, Hillary, we're done with you. I do have 3 clips left.
All right.
Yeah. I got 2 are related, and the other one's just kind of an EU thing. But first, I want to play this. This is news that you never heard, and this is a funny story. Democracy Now!, of course, picks this sort of thing up. Just the one thing they do well is grab stories like this, and then they do make a little commentary in their own way. This is it says Mrs. Sui says you can shoot anyone.
A city in Mississippi is claiming a man who was shot dead inside his own home by a police officer 2 years ago has no constitutional rights because he was an undocumented immigrant, not a U.S. citizen. An attorney for the city of South Haven, Mississippi, made this argument in a recent court filing after the family of Ismael Lopez filed a civil lawsuit. Lopez was shot dead inside his own home when police shot through his front door. The police were attempting to serve a search warrant to one of Lopez's neighbors, but went to the wrong house. The city's attorney wrote, quote, Ismael Lopez may have been a person on American soil, but he was not one of the we the people of the United States entitled to the civil rights invoked in this lawsuit, unquote. A lawyer for the Lopez family described the city's position as, quote, the most insane thing I've ever heard, unquote. The attorney said the city is essentially arguing that because Lopez is an undocumented immigrant, it's okay for the city of South Haven to kill him.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's
I
okay.
think that's a story.
Oh,
You'd
damn.
think the networks would be on that one.
Damn. Yes.
That's a very good story. Instead, no. You can't have good stories like this on the networks because the way things go, you want something that has something. It's got to be about Trump. Mm-hmm. So, and especially trumped up bull crap. I mean, this is my favorite, even though I can imagine these meetings and somebody's suggesting things like this, but this is Trump wants to shoot migrants.
The New York Times is reporting President Trump privately pushed for shooting migrants and for creating a, quote, water-filled trench stocked with snakes or alligators along the U.S.-Mexico border. The New York Times also details how Trump has privately proposed other radical measures to curtail immigration, including closing the entire U.S.-Mexico border and building an electrified border wall topped with spikes to pierce human flesh. The Times reveals Trump has repeatedly raised the idea of shooting migrants during staff meetings. The paper reports, quote, after publicly suggesting that soldiers shoot migrants if they threw rocks, the president backed off when his staff told him that was illegal. But later in a meeting, aides recalled he suggested they shoot migrants in the legs to slow them down. That's not allowed either, they told him.
Oh,
unquote.
Bummer.
The Times article is based on a new book, Border Wars, Inside Trump's Assault on Immigration, by Times reporters Michael Shear and Julie Hirschfeld Davis.
Yeah, the president responded to this. Let me see. Here it is.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, it was just a follow-up of what I just asked you, sir.
Listen, you ready? We have the president of Finland. Ask him a question.
I have one for him. I just wanted to follow up on the one that I asked you, which
did you hear
what
me?
Did you want?
Did you hear me?
Yes,
ask him a question.
I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. This is the one I meant to play.
Well, that was a good one, though.
It was a lie.
But he did deny other accusations in the report, including an account not confirmed by NBC News. The president had also called for fortifying the border with a, quote, water-filled trench stocked with snakes or alligators. He wanted the wall electrified with spikes on top that could pierce human flesh.
They said, I want a moat with alligator snakes, electrified fences, so people get electrocuted if they so much as touch the fence, and spikes on top. Never said it, never thought of it.
The president made those alleged comments when migrant border crossings were over 100,000 a month. Now they're down to 64,000. Lester?
Kristen Welker, thank you.
So I like the way both reports, both Amy Goodman and NBC, both said the same wordage, the exact same wordage, which makes me think that somebody's coordinating.
Well, it's coming from a book and it's being reported as news. That's why it's it's in a book.
Why would you use the same exact words? The following the ones I'm talking about: spikes that pierce human flesh. Now, what spikes don't pierce human flesh? Why does it have to be spikes? Why does it have to say that pierce human flesh? And it's not like sharp spikes. You say, well, you can say sharp spikes. You can say something. But they both use the exact same wordage, spikes that pierce human flesh.
See, if I was in charge of the M5M, I'd say spikes that when you trip, you could gouge your eye. You got to
put an eye out.
You got to gouge your eye. You fall on the spike.
Yeah, gouge is better. You're right.
You've got to make it a little more personable.
Yeah, it's got to be gory.
it's
so my last clip before I guess we're going to be done.
Yeah, we are.
So I have 3 of these, actually. I may push two of them off. Oh. But there's a new series on France 24. This is little bits, and it's on their website, and I think they do it on the TV, but I haven't seen it yet, called Fact or Fake. And they find some issue that I guess the Europeans are moaning and groaning about, and then they do a fact or fake, and they go into it. And it's always some issue that is resolved in a very awkward way that, no, it turns out to be fake. Everything's fake. And it's like, there's a couple of these, but they always indicate that the underlying fact or fake questioning that's going on by the public, to me, shows a deep mistrust of the EU government itself because of the nature of these. And France 24 is trying to assuage the public so to make them feel better. And this is the one, I'll play this one.
Hold on, let me just understand. So they have a segment called Fact or Fake, but the entire idea is to show you that what you think is wrong because the EU is actually very good. They're not trying to kill you with weird stuff. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've been noticing a lot of crazy. This is the best example of where they're, oh no, that's not the way it works. You get to do what you want. No, the EU you're going to be good. It just seems ominous. The whole thing seems like Big Brother. But let's go with this one. I got other ones we'll play next time. Fact or fake Berlin time.
Well, this time we're asking, is the EU trying to put the entire continent on, quote, Berlin time? That's the colourful claim from British tabloid The Daily Express on March 26th of this year. Now, this article claims that members of the European Parliament have voted to, quote, advance plans to shift to Berlin time in 2021. So what's the truth? Well, the root of the article is correct. MEPs did vote on March 26th in favour of ending the seasonal clock-changing tradition, otherwise known as daylight saving, as of March 2021. Now, they were supporting a proposal made by the European Commission, which itself stemmed from a public consultation. 4.6 million Europeans responded to a survey, of which 84% were in favour of the change. So it is true that time is being tinkered with, but what about the details? What is Berlin time? Well, the Daily Express does not explain in its article where the term Berlin time has come from. Indeed, Berlin shares its own Central European time with 30 other European states and 2 in North Africa that use CET all year round. So the article may as well have called it Paris time, Sarajevo time, or even perhaps Tunis time. In any case, no specific time zone is being imposed under the proposal. It would be up to each member state to decide which time arrangement they wish to keep, their current summer or winter time for their particular zone.
Well, a couple of things about this. One, of course, is, a tempest in a teapot, nothing's going on. Well, and you get to choose your own. We're not really pushing people.
Yeah.
But the idea of she misses that, or maybe it wasn't missed, maybe she knows it, but the idea of using the term Berlin time as opposed to Tunis time and all these other Paris time is a note of, hey, this is we're talking about the German Empire here.
That's right.
And they want everyone to be on Berlin time.
Yeah.
And that's kind of just the point of that is missed completely.
It probably
was missed in the article.
It's also kind of a Brexit thing at the same time, So, Greenwich Mean Time? That's old hat. Berlin time. That's the
Berlin
new
time.
Berlin time, baby. This is a good segment. I'd like you to do that more often. I will remind you of these and keep
I'll push these off. They'll be on the list tomorrow. The next list on Sunday. The next Thursday.
Second Thursday of the week.
Second Thursday of the week and the first Sunday.
Coming up next on the No Agenda stream, Trolls Beware. Nick the Rat will join you with Tales from the Sewer. It's noagendastream.com. And, we'll be back on Sunday, second Thursday of the week. End of show mix has received too many to play today, but we do have classic Chris Wilson. So Chris Wilson, we've got some Cyborg Dave, and I've borrowed something from Rebel Media, who are the fiercely independent Scandinavians, who I like a lot. That's right, be careful, she'll swoop in before you know it. Coming to you from Opportunity Zone 33 here in the frontier of Austin, Texas, FEMA Region number 6 and all the governmental maps. If you're looking us up in the morning, everybody, I'm Adam Curry.
And from Northern Silicon Valley, where I'll be bringing you my new phone review on the next show.
Wow.
I've got a new smartphone. I'm John C. Dvorak.
I cannot wait. Until then, remember Dvorak.org/NA and adios, mofos! And such.
Reluctantly, John Podesta declines. Hillary's going to be running this time. Campaign news flashes, the posters go up. Churning and burning, she's going for Trump. She deftly maneuvers and muscles her rank. Corporate donations and funding from banks. Reckless and wild, the media fawns. The DNC yields, she maneuvers her pawns. As they speed towards the finish, the opposition goes down. Others give up and they get out of town. The White House is hers, except for one man still slamming and scamming as long as she can. The sun has gone down and the moon has come up. And last election clearly was stolen by Trump. But she's driving, conniving and changing the terms. So she'll be the president, the job for which she still yearns. She's going the distance. She's going to lead. She's all alone in a time of greed. Because she's scheming and memeing, collecting each dime. She's fighting and biting, lying all the time. She's going the distance.
I got to set this up because it's kind of complicated.
No kidding.
You'd never hear this on American television. I'm surprised this may not be real, but
Nick the Rat just bent over in the troll room. Don't do that, Nick.
Oh, this is actionable.
I really don't like that.
You want to make some extra money for the show? What would you like?
I want a curry.co.ck, please.
I thought that was a little revealing. Obviously, this is lewd, by the way, for people. Cover your children's ears.
We make fun of it because it's uncomfortable.
It's a pain in the ass.
She's banging away like a crazy school marm with a shoe on the desk.
I'm going to give you the whole load today.
Oh, well, there's such a heavy load. So he nutted himself.
Can you imagine? Nut of the future. Love you, Snohomish. It's a Dutch joke, I think.
So this is what goes on. This is probably not uncommon.
If it's a cheap laugh, it's on no agenda.
I find it very offensive.
Have you seen Donald Trump? Do you think he should step in?
China is asshole. China is asshole. China is asshole. China is asshole. Donald Trump, don't trust China. China is asshole. Donald Trump, don't trust China. China is asshole. Donald Trump, don't trust China. China is asshole. Donald Trump, don't trust China.
China, 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 China. So don't tell me about China. I know China. Big wig. China, 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 China. So don't tell me about China. I know China. Big wig. Big wig. Big wig. Big wig. Big, 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 big. In the morning.
Asshole. China is asshole. China is asshole. China is asshole. Donald Trump, don't trust China. 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 China is asshole. China is asshole. China is asshole. Donald Trump, don't trust China. China is asshole. Donald Trump, don't trust China. China is asshole. Donald Trump, don't trust China. China is asshole. Donald Trump, don't trust China.
China, 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 China. So don't tell me about China. I know China. Big wig. China, 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 China. So don't tell me about China. I know China. Big wig. Big wig.
UFO.
Dvorak.org/NA.
Are you talking to me?